Welcome to Chinese Novel Audiobook. Chapter 61, the second closed beta. Aunt Lu, I'm full. Chen Guogo put down his chopsticks and smiled at the middle-aged woman on the other side of the dining table. It was just that when she moved her gaze to the two empty places beside the dining table, her gaze dimmed slightly. I'll go back to the room first. Was silent for a while, she said. After speaking, she stood up and walked to the bedroom upstairs. The middle-aged woman across the table hesitated and reminded. Guogo, you will be in the third grade next year. Don't play games for too long. If it affects your academic performance, Mr. Chen and the others will be angry. Chen Guoguo's pace stopped, she laughed mockingly, and said. Angry. They are busy making money, but they don't have the time to get angry with me. After, she seemed to feel that her attitude was not very good, so she added. Don't worry, Auntie Lu, last time I took the first exam in my class. I met a big sister from Jinghua University in the game, and I often find her to help with homework in the game, but it's amazing. The middle-aged woman frowned suspiciously. Can I still learn in the game? Do you have that time and effort? After finished speaking, she hesitated for a while and continued. Don't stay in your room all day long to play games. You can also go out and find your classmates to play. Your school is an aristocratic school, and the students' backgrounds are very strong. Now play with classmates. Good relationship, for your future. Did they tell you to tell me? Chen Guogo interrupted the middle-aged woman, her voice gradually faded. Guogo. Middle-aged women are a little helpless, but they are also considered default. Chen Guogo smiled self-deprecatingly, and said nothing. She turned and left, returned to her room, and closed the door with a pop. Seeing the closed door, the middle-aged woman sighed and silently picked up the tableware on the table. Chen Guogo came to her bedroom, leaned her back behind the door, and gently closed her eyes. Interests, you only see interests. After finished, she clenched her fist and slapped it on the door behind her. So, I hate reality the most. After a moment of silence, Chen Guogo raised her head, her gaze fell on the stealth cabin in the corner of the bedroom. The girl's eyes gradually softened. Speaking of which, today is the second closed beta. She said to herself. Then, the girl stretched out her white wrist and looked at her watch. Is it 10 minutes before 12 o'clock? Sighed lightly, and took away all the worries in his mind. Chen Guogo patted her cheek. If I remember correctly, this closed beta seems to have the task of guiding new players. Well, the reward is a little bit less, I don't plan to do it, but it's okay to see the excitement. Hehe, the expressions of those new players entering the game must be very interesting. It seems that something has been thought of, the girl smiled sweetly, with a shallow dimple on the corner of her mouth. While talking, she quickly put on her bare pajamas. Then, the girl her hair and tied it with a hair set, then opened the sneak cabin and lay in expertly. Start the game, Elf Country. Consciousness was slightly trance, she came to the familiar character interface. Open black lens bracket ding, close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. The game is connected successfully, close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. New version found, Elf Country, 1.02 close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket version update, close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket ding, update successfully close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket login, close black lens bracket. Game ID, Xiao Xian Miao. Open black lens bracket heavenly chosen, welcome back to Elf Country. Close black lens bracket. Accompanied by the familiar sound of the system, the scene in front of Chen Guogo suddenly changed. She appeared in an elegantly decorated wooden bedroom. In the bedroom, there are all kinds of furniture, as well as many exquisite crafts. Those are all the jade antiques she collected from the players. Here is her home in Elf Country. The bright light shines through the window, with the pure air unique to the fairy forest, which makes the girl feel that all the troubles of reality have disappeared in an instant. She stretched lazily and sat up from the bed. Unlike the blue star, Chen Guogo could feel the powerful magic power in his body the moment he came here. His 5 senses were sharper, his physical strength was more abundant, and his vision became higher. Here, she feels as if she has a new life and started a new life. Chen Guogo likes this feeling very much. Now, She is no longer Chen Guogo, but Xiao Xian Miao. Sighed slightly, her gaze scanned the in-game time on the game system. Is it at 8:50 in the morning, just right? Hey, she jumped off the bed, her chest shook. Took off the exquisite mage robes hanging on the wall, and Xiao Shanmiao skillfully put it on. This is the only black iron subordinate golden legendary mage robe in the entire server. It took her a full 100,000 points to redeem it successfully. Then, she took out a pair of mage boots from under the bed. The leather boots are also the golden legendary blast boots under the black iron, and they were first exchanged by her a while ago. Went in 2s and 3s, and she moved a bit, feeling very satisfied. Then, taking the devil's staff placed in the corner of the wall, she placed a paws against the long emerald mirror in the room. I feel very good. Is a golden legendary equipment, which is also unique to the whole server. Especially, the only devil's staff was exchanged by her, which made Li Mu of the Nature Heart Guild envy for a long time. Thinking of this, Xiao Shanmiao felt that his pocket money from that country was also worth it. Spending money, isn't it just to be happy? Anyway, some monthly spending. Anyway, my old lady has money. Took a deep breath, Xiao Xian Miao shook his head. After throwing away the mess of thoughts, she opened the door and walked out. When she came to the town, she immediately attracted the attention of other players. Isn't this the salty cat? Good morning. Mr. President, good morning. Good morning. Sister Meow. Local tyrant Miss Meow. Is there still a thigh pendant? The kind that calls 666. Along the way, www.mtlnovel.com, countless players greeted her enthusiastically, and Xiao Shanmiao also responded with a smile. Good morning. Good morning. Ha ha ha, good morning. Sorry, I have enough pendants, there is no shortage of you. Quote. Although it was noon at Blue Star, when players came to the game, they had already substituted the time here. And when Xiao Shanmiao came to the central square, a lot of players had already gathered here. They all took on the novice guidance task of the system, waiting for the arrival of the second round of closed beta players. Different from their previous arrival, this time, new players will be uploaded directly from the world tree to the central square of the town. Xiao Shanmiao took a look at the system time. It's almost time. As soon as the voice fell, the bell of the Temple of Nature rang slowly. Dang! 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 Accompanied by the melodious bell, numerous golden magic circles suddenly appeared on the square. Numerous spatial fluctuations spread, and the magic power in the square is surging, and tall figures gradually pass through the circle, appearing in the player's vision. Is the new elf. They stood close together, wearing linen robes and wooden armor that Xiao Xian Miao missed. Looking at those curious faces. Looking at the expressions that gradually turned from excitement to shock and excitement. The corners of Xiao Xian Miao's mouth rose slightly. She bent her eyes wide, revealed a sweet and happy smile, and whispered to herself in a low voice. Welcome to the world of sword and magic. Chapter 62, Weird Player. Haha, I finally become a closed beta player. What a fresh air. What a beautiful forest. The authenticity of this game. I don't know how to express. We must have crossed, this is definitely an alien conspiracy. Is this the town built by the first test players? It's beautiful. On the square, hundreds of second test players were curiously and excitedly looking at this strange world. What greeted them, except for the beautiful forest scenery, the unique fairy town, and the fresh and pure air? There are 300 enthusiastic faces. Ha ha ha. Newbies are welcome to join the family of Elf Land. Demarsha laughed, squeezed into the crowd expertly, and hooked up her shoulders to the two shy newcomer girls. Are you very excited? Isn't it very open? Don't you know how to integrate into this game more quickly? While talking, Demacia lightened up the epic black iron scimitar in bright purple, proudly said. Hey, come on. Let the first tank fighter in the whole server teach you how to get started. As soon as S voice fell, he was kicked on his ***** and fell into the mud. While going, these two are my real friends, don't mess around. Cuckoo Bird walked over with a cold face. Demacia got up from the ground, and when he saw the person coming, his head shrank, and he smirked. Ah! After finishing speaking, he ran away. Puff! Looking at Demasia's back, Xiao Shanmao laughed. Demacia, this guy, can be regarded as a strange thing unique to the whole server. In fact, the heart is not bad, but why is the EQ so low? Xiao Xian Miao shook his head. She looked at the cuckoo bird who was chatting with her new friend in the game, hesitated for a moment, and did not bother her. At this moment, the first test players who took the guidance task also found their own goals one after another, and started the activity of bringing new people to the task. This is the task of the goddess. Whenever players lead a newcomer on the right track, they will get a lot of contribution rewards. The content of the task is very simple. As long as you take the newcomers to complete a daily task, each one will be rewarded with 100 points of contribution. In order to redeem the epic equipment in the system and learn various exercises and skills, 900 second test players have become mobile contributions in the eyes of the first test players. Every player in the first test was vying to lead someone, and some even pulled 4 or 5 in one breath. The degree of enthusiasm almost scared the newcomers who just entered the game. Xiao Shanmiao didn't have the idea of bringing new people. In fact, she just wanted to join in the fun and see how surprised the newcomers look. She likes the atmosphere of the game in Elf Country very much. Although the players here also quarrel for their own interests and sometimes have conflicts, they are generally united and sincere when dealing with partners. Even those who hugged her thighs in the name of her local tyrant players were very real. This is much better than the fake guys with smile masks in reality. It's just that although Xiao Shanmiao doesn't plan to bring new people, some things are not based on human will. In fact, when she appeared in the eyes of the second test players, she had already become the focus. Without him, the weapon repaired by Eve, not to mention the actual combat effect, the effect of the pretense is absolutely leverage. The luxurious appearance of the golden legend of the black iron rank equipment, even Alice thought it was a divine tool when she saw it. And the little salty cat in golden legendary equipment is undoubtedly a big brother in the eyes of players. Plus she is a girl. Soon, she was surrounded by a group of second test players. Little salty cat. Is that the little salty cat on the forum? Mengxin asked for it. Miao Da, can you be my master? Boss. Newcomers ask for friends. For a while, the surrounded girl felt a little at a loss. I'm sorry, I don't plan to take anyone for the time being. In the end, she had to apologize to decline. The novice players who were declined are very disappointed. But soon, they were spotted by other old fritters in the first test and pulled away. Gradually, the area around Xiao Xian Miao became empty. She didn't care at all. Instead, she found a corner of the square and sat down, smiling and watching the players coming and going in the town. Excited newcomer. Passionate old player. And the busy nature Saint Alice. It's so lively. Compared to reality, the people here seem to be more energetic and more real. Xiao Xian Miao likes this feeling very much. Her eyes swept back and forth in the crowd, enjoying the feeling of hanging up. Suddenly, a figure came into her eyes. That is a strange female novice player. Unlike other excited players, she looks very quiet. She did not rush to do the task, nor communicate with the old players, but quietly stood beside the stone monument in the center of the square. She stretched out her hand and slowly stroked the steel, not knowing what she was thinking. Just a glance, Xiao Xian Miao felt that she couldn't look away. Is not to say how beautiful this player pinched his face. In fact, the appearance of the players on Elf Country is definitely the best match. And the style of this player is absolutely too ordinary. www.mtlnovel.com. The hair color is the most common gold, the eyes are the most common emerald color, and even the hairstyle is the most common shoulder-length hair. Medium figure, medium height. Everything is the most basic setting of the system. It can be said that this player is no different from other players just from the outside. But, the temperament is different. Temperament is a very strange thing. It is clear that everyone's looks are similar, but there are people with temperament, and people with no temperament, standing together is different. For example, Demacia has a handsome face, but whenever he laughs, it gives people a sense of wretchedness. But this female player is different. She stood there obviously, but she seemed to be out of step with her surroundings, exuding a scent that no one else should be near. Obviously she looks ordinary, but she gives people a noble, elegant, and independent feeling. As if the next second, she would leave this world. There was a faint smile at the corner of her mouth. The smile came from the heart, but it seemed to have an inexplicable taste. Glad, miss. Don't know how to get it. These words suddenly popped out of Xiao Shanmiao's mind. Gradually, there was a hint of curiosity in her heart. Xiao Shanmiao glanced at the ID above her head. Is only one word. Wind. She raised her eyebrows. Wind. Wind. No root, no ping, no shadow and no shape. Wind. Born with the heart, moved with the heart. There was a hint of interest in his heart, and Xiao Shanmiao stood up from the ground. She tidied up her dress and walked towards the other party. Chapter 63. Are you, a landscape party? This is the name of all players who build the fairy town. Came behind the novice player named Wind. Xiao Shanmiao took a deep breath and introduced in the voice that he thought was the most kind. Hearing the voice coming from behind, the movement in the hands of the female elf whose ID is Wind stopped slightly. She slowly turned around and looked behind her. A pair of emerald eyes looked at Xiao Shanmiao. His gaze was pure and calm, not at all like a player who had just entered the game. And the faintly flowing ray of light in her eyes made her look faintly with the nobility of a superior. That kind of look, Xiao Shanmiao has seen it in reality. Only those who occupy high positions all the year round can have such confident and bright eyes. And the graceful and noble temperament that unknowingly exudes from the other's expression made Xiao Shanmiao convinced. The other party must be a person of great status and status in reality. For a while, Xiao Shanmiao felt a little restrained. Looking at the somewhat uncomfortable Xiao Shanmiao, the Wind smiled slightly. Thank you. Her voice is very beautiful, and there is a different kind of crisp and sweet. People can't help but have a sense of closeness. This is diametrically opposite to the feeling she exudes not to get close to strangers, but for some reason there is not the slightest violation. And her smile is more gentle and natural, with a smell of spring breeze. This is the real noble temperament. Involuntarily, Xiao Shanmiao had such a thought in her mind. She hesitated for a moment, and then came out like a ghost. That, are you still unfamiliar with this world? Do you need me to assist you in game tasks? Unconsciously, she even brought the honorific title. Hearing her words, a trace of surprise floated in Feng's emerald pupils. Saw her smile slightly, as if the whole world ushered in spring. It is good. For an instant, Xiao Shanmiao felt that her heart was about to melt, and there was a slight joy in her heart. But soon, she felt wrong again. How do you feel like being recognized by your elders? On the streets of Elf Town, Xiao Shanmiao walks side by side with the Wind. The president of one of the three major guilds in the Elf Kingdom, at this moment, is a bit like being inspected by leaders. Along the way, she pointed to the buildings of different styles on both sides, and introduced with pride and shyness. This is the Elf Town, which was built by our first test players. Of course, the main force of the built town is the construction team of our guild. Other players just provide building materials. Providing building materials is the task of novice players. Actually, the novice task should be to build towns, but considering that the novices have no experience, and the construction team of our guild has grown up, so we only let novice players provide building materials. In the future, newly built houses will also be owned by new players. If players want, they can also spend their contribution to find our guild's construction team to customize houses. As long as the contribution is enough, you can customize it into a castle. Customize housing with contribution. Hearing this, the Wind made a surprised sound for the first time. It seems that this incident faintly surprised her. After finished her words, her expression was a bit inexplicable, and there was a sigh in her words. Your guild is really talented. Hearing the compliment from the other party, Xiao Shanmiao's eyes became crescents with joy, and she patted her heavy chest and said proudly. That's not it. There are so many powerful people in our association. Civil engineering, gardening, architecture, everything. Those gardens, as well as those European-style, Chinese-style classical buildings, are all designed and built by the big designers of our guild. They also have their own construction team in Minecraft. By the way, would you like to join our guild, Mo Committee? Our guild focuses on the life department, but it's warm. Xiao Shanmiao introduced, turning around, looking at the Wind with shining eyes. And Feng just smiled, non-committal. Seeing that the other party didn't reply clearly, Xiao Shanmiao felt a little lost in her heart. But soon, she adjusted her mentality and smiled sweetly. Well, it's too early. Players can join the guild at least level 5. Do you want to pick up the novice mission? Xiao Xian Miao asked again. Novice mission. Feng raised his eyebrows. Well, if we want, we will go to the Temple of Nature to find Alice. Alice is the saint of nature in the game, a very gentle NPC lady. By the way, the NPCs in this game are real. We can completely communicate with them as real characters. Xiao Xian Miao introduced again. Alice. Hearing this name, the corner of Feng's mouth suddenly tucked out a faint arc. Saw her gently shook her head and said. Forget it, I want to walk around. Hearing what the wind said, Xiao Shanmiao suddenly realized. So, are you a landscape party? Landscape party. Feng's body stopped slightly, and his voice was a little strange. Xiao Shanmiao quickly explained. Ahem. This is the term of the game, that is, players who do not pursue monster upgrades, but like to take screenshots and see the scenery in the game. After hearing her words, Feng's mouth raised slightly. I know. After, she turned around and went to a shop in the small town that sells all kinds of berries. Her voice was a little vague. I don't have much online time, so, it's a landscape party. What does it mean? Xiao Xian Miao muttered strangely. Online time is not much. At this moment, Xiao Shanmiao has a certain speculation about the other party's identity in reality. Only those high-ranking people don't have so much time to spend in the game, right? She should be very busy in reality. For her, the game is just a kind of relaxation and enjoyment. In reality, she should be an older elder, highly respected, loved by others, and manages many subordinates. Maybe a big company or the government. Is it someone who is curious about this magical game? Thinking of this, Xiao Shanmiao feels that she can be a detective. And when she saw where the wind was standing, especially the bright eyes of the other person looking at the berries, her eyes lit up again. She picked up a berry and introduced enthusiastically. Do these berries look delicious? Actually, www.mtlnovel.com, they taste delicious too. I think it is much better than the fruit on Blue Star. I don't know how the designer designed it. By the way, in this game, we also need to eat. Berries are a very good choice. These shops are opened by our players, and the berries are collected from the forest. You can buy them as long as you use your contribution. Quote. Well, contribution is the currency in this game. It takes 11 levels to open it. Before that, new players had to go to the forest to find berries by themselves. However, the forest of the elves is rich in resources, and berries are easy to find. Of course, if you find Alice for a mission, you can also get food. While talking, Xiao Shanmiao shouted to the shop. Is there anyone? Is there anyone? No one answered. Xiao Xian Miao patted his head. Oh, forgot to forget, now everyone is bringing new people. After finished speaking, she directly touched 2 purple berries from the fruit basket, separated one and gave it to the wind, saying, Here, please, have a taste. I know the player in this shop, he belongs to our guild. He has the tracking magic on the merchandise, so I will pay him later. Feng took the berry in surprise and took a bite. The juice is full of fragrance. And her eyes became brighter in an instant. With that expression, it seems that I haven't tasted the delicious food for a long time. How is it? Isn't it delicious? Seeing her expression, Xiao Shanmiao is happy and authentic. Okay. Feng nodded. She chewed very slowly, and seemed to enjoy the process very much. Delicious. She said. Chapter 64. I love it here. Feng is a very strange player. Xiao Xian Miao thinks so. At first, she thought that the other party might belong to that kind of leisure and entertainment scenery party. But soon, some of Feng's actions caused her to overthrow her previous speculation. Feng neither was very excited to look for beautiful scenery to take photos with her, nor did she ask her where the scenery is the most beautiful. This makes Xiao Xian Miao, who is a Half-Life player, obviously has a good idea, but can't show it. However, Feng seems to have a soft spot for food in this world. Along the way, whenever she saw the food she was interested in, she would stop and taste it. Is like a traveler who has not tasted food for a long time. Besides, she seems to be no stranger to this world, although Xiao Shanmiao can't tell why, but she feels that way. Maybe. It's the kind of freedom when the wind is playing. There is no restraint, nor the excitement of coming to Xintiandi, but it is like walking in the back garden of my own home. Woo. I must be thinking too much. Xiao Xian Miao shook his head. However, she is more curious about the wind. This weird player is very gentle, and she always has a smile on her face, especially when she sees players doing tasks excitedly, her smile seems to become softer. In addition, she also likes to walk very much. Xiao Xian Miao has been with her for a long time, and she has been wandering non-stop. It seems. She enjoys this kind of stroll. Do you like the feeling of walking? In the end, Xiao Shanmiao couldn't help her curiosity. Hearing Xiao Xian's question, the wind turned around, and the emerald-colored star pupils shone with a deep light. She put a small red berry into her mouth, her voice was faint. I like this feeling of freedom. Are you free? Xiao Shanmiao's heart moved, and somehow she suddenly thought of herself in reality. Faintly, she also had a resonance. Only at this moment, the wind seems to be more mysterious in her heart. She, like a princess who stole from the castle. Somehow, Xiao Xian Miao had such a thought. She thinks she must have read too many fairy tales. However, as soon as this idea came up, she felt that the other party really fits such a role. Although only the most basic system characters are used. But it can't hide the mystery and nobleness on Feng. Although it's close at hand. But the wind gives people a way to leave here in the next second and return to their own place. She never seemed to belong here. She also didn't seem to intend to really get involved here. Her world, her future, does not seem to be here. She, like a lonely wanderer, just to rest, take a break. Soon, she will set off again. She must be lonely, right? Thinking of this, Xiao Shanmiao hesitated and invited. That, tonight, we will hold a large bonfire party in the square to welcome new players. Would you take part? After hearing what Xiao Xian Miao said, the wind was slightly startled. Saw a bright light flashing in her eyes, and then nodded gently. It is good. Nightfall soon fell. After the leadership of the players in the first test, the players in the second closed test have gradually become familiar with the gameplay of Elf Country. While praising this game really well, they also accepted banquet invitations from old players. I don't know when it will start, but the bonfire party has become the norm for the celebration of Elf Country. A pile of firewood 4 meters high has been laid out in the middle of the square, and it has been lit amidst cheers and whistles. The scorching flame, 7 or 8 meters high, illuminates the entire square brightly. The first test players set up a long banquet in the square. The materials were all kinds of berries from the fairy forest, as well as some unnamed nuts with good taste, and delicious meats that were grilled after hunting the warcraft. Of course, the placement of the latter was specially concealed, so as not to be seen by Alice and Barthaka, which would inevitably be another reprimand. In addition, there are players who bought honey from the forest, and made honey tea with a plant similar to the blue star chrysanthemum, which was used as a drink. The players gathered in 2s and 3s, hooking their shoulders together. Some players have specially created a board game. A group of people gathered together, playing and laughing happily. Some internal beta players explored the PK system on the square, consuming the contribution value for 2-player PK. The magic and sword skills are extremely gorgeous, causing a crowd of players to watch and applaud. The wanton and intrepid second test novices have eyes bright. There are also big players who have specially made earthen guitars from wood and the hair on the monsters. They sing and sing, which arouses the whistle and applause of the players. The entire square is immersed in an atmosphere like a holiday. Xiao Xian Miao Hefeng sits on a square blanket made of rattan, tasting the delicacies of the mountains and wilds of the banquet, while admiring the grand scenery on the square. The wind is very soft. Her eyes shone with little stars under the light of the fire, like a sparkling lake under the sun. Looking at her focused expression, the corners of Xiao Shanmiao's mouth gradually rose. The degree of freedom in this game is very high, so, as long as it is what we want to accomplish, we can almost make it. This kind of campfire party has been held many times since we opened the service. Talking, Xiao Shanmiao stretched her waist, took a sip of sweet honey tea, and smiled. Speaking of it, it's also interesting. In theory, many of us don't really like socializing in reality. But we fall in love with the campfire in the game. Feng did not speak, but sat next to her, eating fruit while listening to her quietly. Many of my members have told me that they are actually quite introverted in reality. Xiao Shanmiao said, her expression gradually tranced. But, here, it's different. Looking at those happy smiling faces, her expression gradually softened. When they told me at first, I was quite surprised. Because in my eyes, everyone is very outgoing and very enthusiastic. I really can't imagine that many people are dull and introverted in reality. In the past, someone told me that many people don't like socializing, but they are not really introverted, but they see through the sophisticated and smooth in reality, and hate those hypocritical, useless communication that floats on the surface. They prefer to stay in their own real little world rather than imaginary and suspicious snakes. But this does not mean that they really don't like to communicate with people, they just don't know the right person. People who are not on the same channel can't talk together. People with the same frequency will eventually get together even if they go over the mountains and mountains. People with different magnetic fields, even if they get along day and night, they will never be the same. Before, I didn't know the meaning of these words, nor did I identify with them. But after coming to this game, I think I finally know the meaning of these words. www.mtlnovel.com. With that, Xiao Xian Miao drank the honey tea in the cup, and the corners of her mouth melted into a touch of sweetness. Sweet smile. Here, everyone has found their own destination. You don't have to hide yourself or conceal your thoughts, everyone seems to have started a new wanton life. Perhaps, this is the charm of this game. After a while, Xiao Xian Miao sighed. This game really has a different kind of magic. Sometimes, I really hope that this is not a game, but a real world. I really want to say thank you to the people who developed this game. Thank you, the other beautiful life they portrayed for us. Boom. Boom. Quote. A loud noise interrupted Xiao Shanmiao's statement. The two raised their heads subconsciously and looked into the air. There, the fireworks, made by magic blossoms one after another. Colorful and beautiful. The brilliance of magic is reflected in Xiao Xian's pupils, shining brightly. Just as she feels now. Feng turned her head to the side, her gaze stopped on Xiao Shanmiao's side face, and a smile appeared at the corner of her mouth. You really like this game. Xiao Shanmiao nodded fiercely while looking at the magical fireworks, her voice steadfast. Of course. Nice. You love it. Feng smiled, then stood up gently. Seeing the wind suddenly getting up, Xiao Shanmiao was slightly stunned. Where are you going? It's late, I should go back. Feng said. Chapter 65. Thanks, bye. After hearing what the wind said, Xiao Shanmiao raised her eyebrows. She checked the system time and said in surprise. Oh, it's not early, it's been 5 hours on Blue Star's side. Are you going offline? Feng was silent for a while, then nodded. Xiao Xian Miao touched her chin and said. If you go offline, go to the morgue first. In the game, the offline body will stay in place, so it is better to find a safe place to offline. Stop. The morgue. Feng's expression showed obvious surprise and confusion for the first time. Cough. This is our nickname for the offline point. Xiao Xian Miao laughed a few times and explained. It's like this. We have a centralized offline point in the town. Players who don't have home can log off at the offline point. There is a magic circle protected by Alice, and it is safe to go offline. This game is fully simulated. After offline, the body will not disappear, but will lose control. It is like a corpse. It is a bit scary when they are parked in rows in a house, so we joked for the morgue. Wind. Of course, cough. If you don't mind, you can go offline at my house, well, my bed is quite big. Xiao Xian Miao said again. She had a good impression of this quiet new player, and she had a vague idea of making friends. However, Feng did not immediately agree. She just smiled and shook her head gently. It's okay, I have troubled you a lot today, no need to trouble you anymore. Although declined, the words that made people feel like spring breeze and the gentle smile made people feel uncomfortable. That's it. Xiao Shanmiao squeezed the corner of her clothes with regret. And Feng looked at her deeply, with a smile at the corner of his mouth. Thank you for staying with me today. I am very happy. The berries are delicious and the bonfire party is really fun. I will get together again when I have a chance. I'm leaving. After, she nodded slightly to Xiao Xian Miao, then turned and walked into the crowd. Hey! I haven't said where the morgue is. Xiao Shanmiao shouted from behind and hurriedly chased after him. However, in the crowd, there is no trace of Feng. Where are people? Xiao Xian Miao was taken aback, looking around for a while. However, there is no trace of wind. She patted her head somewhat depressed. Oh, I've been talking for almost a day, but I forgot to add friends, I'm so stupid. In the fairy forest, a graceful figure is walking slowly. Is wind. Following her steps, the plants on both sides of the forest seemed to pay homage to the king, stepping aside by themselves and showing a path for her. The leaves rustled and fireflies danced around her, seeming to pay tribute to the supreme being. Every step, her body will emit a faint radiance, and she looks mysterious and holy in the dark. Her hair gradually grew longer, the original golden color gradually turned into magnificent silver. Her height gradually increased, and her figure became taller and more elegant. And her emerald-colored eyes gradually faded from emerald green and turned into mysterious and noble purple. The five senses are more refined and more outstanding. Even the original novice suit on her body has been transformed into a holy skirt of divine power. As if in an instant, she turned from a lost princess to a goddess in the sky. Do not. She is the goddess. If a player is here, she will definitely find her appearance exactly like the ***** enshrined in the Temple of Nature. Mother Nature, Goddess of Life, Master of Elves Eve Uktrahir. Yes, the wind is an incarnation made by Eve for herself. The core used is Hela's soul storage orb. And the strength in her body is gradually increasing, and a trace of coercion begins to spread outward. Until, reached a vertex. Reluctantly gold. Perceiving the strength on her body, she sighed. The soul storage orb has not been completely repaired, and it can only exert such great power for the time being. However, it is enough to be able to enjoy the long-lost free activities. I haven't eaten anything for a long time. I didn't expect the food in the fairy forest to be quite delicious. After finished her words, her heart suddenly moved again. Saw a breath of death gradually spread from her body. The waist-length silver hair was dyed with a deep layer, changing from bright silver to dark silver. And a pair of purple eyes also turned scarlet. Even his appearance has changed 4 or 5 points under her control. It is no longer so holy and perfect, but a little more delicate. And a pair of pointed ears also turned into a human form. In addition, her original gorgeous dress has also changed again, turned into a somewhat murderous black skirt. It was transformed by the elf equipment that Eve bought from the player. Perceiving her own state, she smiled slightly. It has stimulated the divine power of the soul storage orb, but it can wear the hat of the death god. This is equivalent to having 2 little vests at once. I'm such a genius. She turned her head and looked in the direction of Elven Town again. There are lights and shadows, and you can still vaguely hear the laughter from the players. There was a smile on her face. Although I created this game for myself, seeing them so happy, even I was affected a bit. In the future, be nice to them. Each mission will increase by 10 contribution points. If it is more, it will easily be inflationary. But gradually, the smile on her face turned into a trace of sadness. Is it the influence of the fusion world tree? I always feel that I can never find that state again. She stretched out her hand and rubbed her forehead. She originally thought that after putting on her vest, she would naturally blend in with the player. After all, she belongs to them. However, it turns out that Yu reading www.uikinshu.com has become a true god, and she seems to never find that feeling again. Her character, her temperament, seems to have been affected in some way. Even if she changed her waistcoat, she couldn't get her unique aura. Compared to human beings, she is more and more like a true ***** above all. She sighed, wondering if it was good or bad. Of course, Eve guessed that this might also be because she has not completely mastered the power of the true god. But no matter what, she has gained the inheritance of the world tree and also inherited the enemy of the world tree, knowing that this world is not as beautiful as the players imagined. As the players were gradually summoned and the elves searched for historical classics, she also gradually realized her own difference. As a true god, the authority of the world tree seemed to be stronger than she thought. And the secret of the thousand-year god war is deeper than she thought. She still has a long way to go. This road is full of dangers and uncertainties, but in the same way, it also leads to infinite possibilities. This is destined to be a lonely road. This is also destined to be a road to the strong. However, on the road leading to the highest seat, she still hopes in her heart that she can retain some human beings. In the future, if you have time, you might as well have fun like this again. Eve believes. Perhaps the appearance of the player can enable her to continue to maintain such a trace of humanity on the path of the true God. Instead of completely turning into a who regards everything as ants, a high above. After playing for a day, it's time to go back. Sighed lightly, her body burst into sacred light, and her figure slowly disappeared. Subscribe to Chinese Novel Audiobook YouTube channel Chapter 66, Wise Lord Blackrock. This is a ruin buried by vines and weeds. Several goblins are gathering around a campfire, roasting a fat mountain hare. Suddenly, a black shadow enveloped them. When the few goblins hadn't recovered, a thick hand lifted the leader of the roasted mountain rabbit like a chicken. The remaining few goblins looked back and were so scared that they turned around and knelt on the ground, shivering. In front of them, there is a team of fierce orcs, and the leader is the Black Stone, the pinnacle of the Black Iron. Heisha looked at the trembling goblin picked up by him, and a trace of disgust flashed in his eyes. He threw it to the ground casually, saying, "Where is your leader?" The goblin fell to the ground, but was not angry. I saw it quickly got up, smiled flatteringly at the Black Stone, and pointed in a direction with, gestures. Looking at its funny expression, Heisha snorted coldly, took the mountain rabbit meat from the campfire and took a bite. But soon, he frowned and spit out the rabbit meat in his mouth, seeming to be very dissatisfied with the goblin craftsmanship. Watching his movements, the goblin was anxious, bowed his head and swallowed. Blackstone didn't say anything more, but kicked the goblin. Lead the way. His voice cannot be denied. Led by a few goblins, the orcs came to a collapsed building in the ruins. A few goblins first took a few steps forward, and they hurriedly lifted a piece of straw, revealing a large hole on the side of the building. Then, they got in expertly. The orcs also bent down and followed the goblins into the building. The building is full of collapsed ruins and discarded rubbish, exuding an unharmonious smell, while a winding path is left in the middle. Under the leadership of the goblins, the orcs continued to go deeper. As they went deeper and deeper, the field of vision in front of Heisha and others gradually widened, and finally they came to an empty cave in 7 turns. This is the hidden stronghold of the cave tribe in the fairy forest, and it is also a transit point for hunting elves. There is a bonfire in the center of the cave, and 3 half-orcs are lying lazily around the bonfire, sleeping. Beside them, there are a few goblins, holding huge leaves and constantly fanning them. Besides them, there is a man-made stone prison in the deeper part of the cave. Through the iron bars, one can vaguely see the few pairs of eyes shining with fear and despair inside. Blackstone first glanced at Shalao with a look of surprise, then cast his gaze on the 3 half-orcs. Seeing the half-orc sleeping leisurely, his already vicious face looked even more ugly. I saw him snort coldly, walked straight over, and gave 3 people a kick. Which bastard, noisy your dream of Grandpa half-orc. The 3 half-orcs were awakened with a kick, and while yelling, they drew out their weapons in anger. However, when they saw the person's appearance clearly, their complexion suddenly changed, and they immediately shrank and became coward. Master Blackrock, how did you come to the base? They smirked and hurriedly hid the mason big knife behind them, flattering and authentic. 3 wastes that are not vigilant at all. Blackstone cursed first with hatred for iron and steel, and then said in a deep voice. Master Giant Mountain sent me to investigate some situations. I have something to ask you. The 3 orcs looked at each other, their expressions gradually becoming serious. Are you here to investigate the disappearance of the orc hunting team? Blackstone glanced at them and nodded. This is also one of my purposes, but before that, I want to ask you if there has been any change in the fairy forest recently. Especially, near the ruins of Jade. Hearing what Blackstone said, the 3 half-orcs were taken aback. They looked at each other, and then shook their heads. This, it seems, nothing special. Kuroishi's expression sank slightly. You better think about it again. Don't tell me, you have been sleeping in the cave during this time. As he said, the pressure of the upper black iron on his body gradually radiated out, and the three orcs lower than the black iron dared not breathe. Under the coercion of the high position, the three of them knelt on the ground almost at the same time, their expressions changed drastically, and big beads of sweat continued to fall. Suddenly, one of the orcs raised his head, shivering and shouting. Master Blackrock, I remembered. I think of something wrong recently. Hearing his words, Blackstone gradually put away his deterrence. Say. The orc kneeling on the ground breathed a sigh of relief, and then said tremblingly. Recently, there seem to be more low-level monsters nearby, and many of them are monsters that used to be active only on the Phylunqui side. They seem to be migrating collectively. Huh. Low-level monster migration. A sharp light flashed in Heisha's eyes. In the forest of elves, the territorial consciousness of the monsters is quite strong. Under normal circumstances, this kind of migration will not occur. Once migration occurs, there are generally two situations. One is that they have found a better place to live and move on their own initiative. The other is that they feel a certain threat and are forced to migrate. The fairy forest is rich in resources, and it is simply a paradise of warcraft, so the first situation is rarely seen. Not to mention that the surrounding strongholds where the cave tribes are located are already barren. So the first case can be ruled out first. So, the result is self-evident. They are avoiding something makes them feel a sense of crisis, and they have to migrate collectively. And the source, probably lies in Phylunqui. Heisha's eyes flashed. If he expected it well, I am afraid that this is the key to the investigation by the chief giant mountain priest. Pondered for a while, he asked again. Are there any powerful monsters in this? The orc who answered shook his head. No. They are all very weak monsters, the highest but the first entry into the black iron ranks, so we didn't care about it before. Weak beast. Heisha's eyes flashed again. This shows that the threat is not very strong, at least those high-level monsters did not feel the crisis. For an instant, Blackstone remembered the strange elves in the oracle mentioned by the chief priest of the giant mountain before leaving. The elves fighting with the goblins. He was lost in thought. Could it be? Is this the weird elves mentioned by Master Giant Shan doing the ghost? There are also the death goddess mentioned by the chief priest. By the way, I remembered two more things. During Blackrock's meditation, a half-orc also raised his hand. Heisha looked at him. Say. The orc took a deep breath and said. About a month ago, dozens of goblins escaped to the stronghold, but most of them seemed to be frightened in some way and their spirits were very unstable. In addition, Master Rock and their final destination is the core area of the fairy forest where Jadeite is located. Heisha's face sank when he heard it. Why didn't you say these things earlier? The orcs trembled slightly, and said carefully. That. Goblins are always timid, and we don't understand what they are calling, www.mtlnovel.com, so we didn't care. As for Master Pan, I was nervous just now. It's waste. Blackstone cursed. He did not go to see the three half-orcs, but kept combining the information he got in his heart. Faintly, he already had some guesses. A group of low-level elves have returned to the fairy forest. They seem to have been favored by the **** of death. They have expelled the goblins of Jadeite and nearby monsters. It is likely that Jadeite is planning something. In this, it is very likely that the death gods will participate, and the disappearance of the orc hunting team led by Pan Shi is probably because they have discovered their secret. The strength of the death gods' favored ones should be very strong, otherwise, Rock and the others will not encounter any accidents. Even if they have the holy artifacts handed over to me by the chief priest, I may not be able to resist. If you rush into Phylunqui, I am afraid it will be very dangerous. It seems that those long ears are not as loyal as in the legend, they are actually involved with death. A trace of sarcasm passed through the expression of Blackstone. Eyes flashed, he asked again. Are there still beasts escaping around now? Yes, the orc who replied tremblingly. Black Rock fell into thought again. Beasts are still being expelled, which shows that those elves should still be active around Emerald. That is to say, he should have a chance to grab a tongue around Phylunqui. This should be a safer way. Thinking of this, Blackstone issued an order. You go and gather a group of goblins, and follow me to investigate the situation around Phylunqui. Chapter 67. Run if you can't beat it. Fairy Forest, southeast of the core area. A group of weirdly dressed elves are shuttled and explored in the forest. Most of them wore ordinary linen robes and wooden armor, only the three in the front wore gorgeous battle clothes. And the leader is even more fully armed. He keeps a rare red explosive head, holds a delicate machete, and is dressed in heavy armor that does not match the elves, and he looks triumphant. Is Demacia. As he moved forward, he said to the bright-eyed teammates behind him. Hey, newcomers, we are out of the safe zone now, and you will gradually see the legendary beasts. The combat mechanism in this world is very realistic, and it is difficult to get started. So if you don't want to die, you must cooperate with a few people when you fight for a while, don't fight alone. Hehe, you can be resurrected even if you die, but if you don't have the perfect number of resurrections, you will fall back to level 1. But don't worry. The three of us will give you a battle. After these days of liver missions and training, Demacia is already level 14. As the highest level taunt of Nature's Heart, he decisively shouldered the task of cultivating newcomers, and decided to bring a few guild members who were promoted faster and were more interested in fighting in the wild. Originally, he planned to wait for the players to save a few perfect resurrection before starting the meet, but unfortunately, there is no reward for the perfect resurrection task recently. And Li Mu, who has been busy learning the magic circle recently, was not too curious about the battle of some new guild members, and finally had to let Demacia take people to take a relatively safe wild adventure. As soon as Demacia's voice fell, the players' interrogative voices rang. But, brother Demacia, we haven't seen any animals along the way. Yeah, isn't it that the wild is dangerous? We have walked more than 10 kilometers here. It's getting dark. Hearing what his teammates said, Demacia scratched his head and said a little embarrassingly. Don't worry, the safety zone is not blame, ahem, it was eaten up by us, but there must be some in the wild. Teammate. Yes, I ate it all. These days, the security zone with the world tree as the core has almost no warcraft. As a celestial person, the players gave full play to their national characteristics. Almost all the small animals that seemed to be edible entered their stomachs. But those who escaped by chance, also fled to other places. There is no game, and even some closed beta players have begun to consider engaging in aquaculture. Without the warcraft that can be practiced, Demacia also had to take the newcomers out of the safe area and go to the wild. Fortunately, after the early exploration, players have found that the land in the southeast of the fairy forest seems to be relatively barren, and the power of the monsters of life is weak. So coming here, Demacia still has certain confidence to ensure the safety of the new players. If you stick to it, you will definitely encounter warcraft. He said to the players. After finished speaking, he smiled again. But you should be careful. The monsters in the wild can look at their faces. If you are lucky, you will not enter the flow. If you are lucky, it is not impossible to meet the black iron middle or even upper position. Haha, but this place we came to was originally barren, so I shouldn't have encountered it. If you really encounter someone you can't beat, you don't want to start from scratch and run. After listening to Demacia's words, several newly added secondary players looked at each other and nodded. A few people walked, and suddenly, the first test player who was the hunter in the front job stopped. There is movement. He looked solemn and made a quiet gesture. Demacia and others lit up, and quickly quieted down. The hunter player took a deep breath, and while observing the surrounding bushes, listening to the sound, he bent over and moved forward carefully. Everyone held their breath. I saw the hunter player leave the team, quietly came to a bush diagonally in front of him, and then tiptoed away. Soon, his expression turned into surprise, and then from surprise to excitement. Saw him turning around and lip syncing to a group of people. Brother. Cloth. Forest. Brother. Bo. Lin. In contrast to the shape of his mouth, Demacia and others performed voice conversion in their brains by themselves. And many more. Goblin. His eyes lit up. Since the goblins in the ruins of the Emerald were wiped out, it has been a long time since I saw such a cute creature. And if he remembers correctly, this kind of cutie who gives experience and contribution has always lived in caves and ruins. And there are no caves in the fairy forest. Could it be, what remains nearby? For an instant, Demasia's breathing became a bit heavy. Ruins. There may be ruins around. Speaking of which, this direction of exploration is because the land is relatively barren, so the players did not go deep. If it doesn't, there are elven ruins. Could it be? Demacia is going to trigger the plot again this time. Thinking of this, he lifted his spirits and quickly waved to the teammates behind him, whispering. There is something good. Don't make any noise, go forward quietly. The group of people became excited after listening. And Demacia quietly approached the hunter player and looked into the distance. In a clearing not far away, a few goblins are gathering together. I don't know what they are doing. Demacia's eyes lit up. He whispered to the teammate who followed. I count 3 times, and I will rush out in a while. You guys cover both sides. Don't let them all run away. But after finishing talking, he thought about it, and then changed his attention. No. You slow down, let go of 1 or 2, we will follow the running goblins to find their base camp. After said, he began to count. 1 2 3. After finished, he took a deep breath, picked up his scimitar and jumped out of the grass. Thief's son. I want you to die. He yelled excitedly, and rushed to a few goblins. Goblins seemed to be frightened by this sudden attack. They screamed strangely, and one after another took up their weapons and started fighting. It's just that Demacia's strength is no longer what it used to be. He only swept 2 of the goblins to the ground, while the other few saw that the situation was not good, and quickly turned around and fled. At this time, other teammates also came. Demacia shouted. Outflank them. After finishing, www.mtlnovel.com, he chased the escaped goblin 1 step ahead. It's strange to say that these goblins seem to have made an appointment, and they didn't run around, but chose the same direction. This refreshed Demacia. Ruins. They must escape back to the ruins. Thinking of this, he chased faster and became more excited. With the constant chasing, the surrounding forest gradually became denser. Goblins, after all, do not have the stamina of elves. Soon, Demacia overtook them 1 by 1, chopped them to the ground 1 by 1, leaving them to be harvested by the new players who followed. Gradually, he finally caught up with the last goblin. When Demacia was about to slow down and follow the opponent to touch the location of the ruins, suddenly, a strong sense of crisis came to my heart. He shuddered all over, and reflexively blocked his scimitar in front of him. I saw a black shadow flashing past, slamming against his scimitar accompanied by a huge force, and the epic scimitar under the black iron unexpectedly broke. Not only that, but Julie still didn't disappear, but hit his chest fiercely. Even the purple epic heavy armor under the black iron was like paper, and it was suddenly broken. And Demacia only felt his chest tightness, and his consciousness trembled for a moment, and flew out under the impact. He slammed into a giant tree directly behind him, and spit out a mouthful of blood. In a blink of an eye, the blood trough fell in half. If it weren't for the pain that he had reduced by 95%, I'm afraid this one would make him die. He raised his head in horror, and saw a strong and hideous figure appear in front of him. Blackstone, the orc, slowly retracted his fist. Chapter 68. One person is so boring. Looking at the half-orc who was more than 2 meters tall in front of him, Demacia's face turned green. One blow. With just one blow, he almost lost his ability to move. The afterglow of his eyes swept to the crippled state that kept flashing on the game system bar, and Demacia felt that the opponent's strength was terrifying. Except for Ural's incarnation, he hasn't really looked directly into such a powerful attack. But Ural's incarnation is in a special situation. Because the opponent is a god, the players feel that no matter how terrible the strength is, it is understandable. Not to mention, Uller was originally the story boss. In their opinion, it was definitely weakened by the official. The incarnation state is unstable, otherwise they won't be overwhelmed by their crowded tactics. But the ugly orc-like monster in front of me is different. Unlike the incomplete incarnation of Uller, he has no weaknesses. Demacia can be destroyed with just one blow. Moreover, the other party is still quite comfortable. A monster like is truly terrible. Demacia has no doubt that such a powerful monster, even if the players charge in waves, I am afraid it will die. It's like a group of chicks charging towards a hound. Damn, I won't really hit the ceiling monster in this game, am I? Demacia cursed in his heart. It seems that I will die once this time. However, Demacia still fulfilled his duties as the captain before this. Saw him turning his head and shouting behind him. I bumped into a wild map boss, you guys run away. I'll fight it first. The voice is very tragic. Just as he finished speaking, he was stunned. Because there is no one behind him. The breeze blew, only one leaf swayed and fell. Is farther away, and you can see several tall figures who are constantly running around. Demacia. Looking at the running back of his teammate, he murmured bitterly. I'll go, you guys are too conscious, right? Sighed, he looked at the orc in front of him and stretched his neck. Come on, just be neat. He was waiting for the other party to kill him, and he looked so righteous and not afraid of death. Looking at the elf in front of him, Heisha raised his eyebrows. This elf has a bit of backbone. From the chief priest of the giant mountain, Blackstone also got the information that these elves are likely to have the ability to be immortal. However, in the same way, he firmly believes that the other party's immortality must have certain limitations. He had dealt with a necromancer in his early years and knew some secrets of death. It is said that some followers of the **** of death do possess immortality, but that is at the cost of weakening their souls again and again. Every time the body dies and the soul is withdrawn, it will suffer an irreparable damage. After repeated several times, the soul will collapse. Therefore, in the eyes of Blackstone, even if the opponent possesses the ability to be immortal, I am afraid he is unwilling to die again and again. After all, no creature can be truly immortal. They just delayed the time of death. And, the soul collapsed, it was a more desperate death than a normal death. Thinking of this, he does have a trace of respect for this elf. At this time, a few more orcs followed, planning to chase the other elves who had escaped. However, they were quickly stopped by Blackstone. No, this elf should be the leader, as long as you catch him, he must know the most. After finished, Blackstone waved his hand. You guys, tie him up. A few ugly half-orcs came up, and roughly took away the scimitar in Demacia's hand, and tied him tightly with twine. Watching the actions of the orcs, Demacia was stunned. Wait, why doesn't this boss play cards according to common sense? In this case, shouldn't the monsters trample the player to death? How did they tie themselves up? And many more. Won't I really trigger any hidden plot? A ray of light flashed in his mind, and Demacia recalled some elves' information that Miss Saint had mentioned. Orcs hunting team. Hunting elves. Population trading. And many more. I don't meet the orcs hunting team, right? Demacia's eyes gradually brightened. Orcs are the enemy of elves. Fuck. Hide the plot. Is definitely hiding the plot. For an instant, his sad mood that might have consumed a perfect resurrection opportunity and equipment destroyed, suddenly disappeared. Seeing that the elf he had caught was neither frightened nor angry, but excited, Blackstone frowned strangely. This wizard. Is there a problem with his brain? Shook his head, and waved his opponent. Let's go back to the stronghold first. Caught an elf, he didn't plan to stay here anymore. He is afraid that might attract a powerful death god. Anyway, this elf is luxuriously equipped, and it is a leader-level figure at first glance, so I know a lot. Although the strength is a bit weak. Even though he was prepared in his heart, even Blackstone did not expect the elves to be so weak. Black iron lower position, it's papery. He glanced at Demacia disdainfully. While Blackstone finished speaking, a half-orc backhanded Demacia up. Fuck. Don't carry my chest, it hurts, I'm suffocating. Demacia shouted. The orc glanced at him, grabbed his leg, and hung it upside down on his shoulder. Demacia. His face is green. The meal, the lunch is coming out, vomit. But nobody cares about him this time. Then, a group of half-orcs rushed back with their trophies, hanging upside down. Demacia was tied to death, and the deep and shallow steps of the half-orc almost knocked his stomach out. However, at this moment, he is not afraid, nor worried at all, but full of excitement. He can see that these half-orcs will definitely not kill him. They seem to want to grab themselves and do something. And many more. The taste of these half-orcs shouldn't be that heavy, right? For an instant, Demacia shivered. Especially when he looked at Heisha's sturdy body and fierce appearance. He was a little confused, his face faintly blue. No. The half-orcs still sell money, and the sellers don't want second-hand goods, right? Demarsha shook her head, comforting herself. Forget it, the big deal will come when I think of a way to commit suicide and return to the city. I don't know if the elves will die if they bite their tongue. But then again, this kind of death method that exists in the Blue Star martial arts novels does not seem to be scientific. That or, can you hit the wall? Or hit a tree? Demarsha started thinking about it. But one thing is certain, that is, he should be safe for the time being. Thinking of this, Demacia gave up his random thoughts, but became bolder. He started to chat with the orcs, www.mtlnovel.com, want to get some information from them, and see if he can stimulate the plot or something. Hey, big guys, are you half orcs? Your two big eyes are so long. It's just a bit yellow. How long have you not brushed your teeth? Your scimitars look so sharp. What level is this? Is it a golden legend? Can I touch it? Tai Hanhan. The Tai Hanhan in front. What level are you? Are you the legendary elf hunting team? Do you want to sell it if I catch it? Where are you taking me? You shouldn't have any weird thoughts about male elves. Although I am handsome, you Shu Linfang, cough, but I think some things are more appropriate to do with Miss Sister, you say, right? Ahem, actually. I ate a lot of spicy food at noon, and now the whole intestines are spicy, and I have hemorrhoids. What are your plans? Tell me about it. Anyway, I was arrested by you. Hey, can you please take care of me, it's boring to talk alone. Hey. Quote. Demacia is like a machine gun that never stops. I talked all the way. Finally, Blackstone couldn't stand this guy anymore. To shut up. He shouted angrily, picked up a goblin that was following with his backhand, pulled off its stinky torn pants with a prick, stuffed it into Demacia's mouth, and covered his with a cloth bag. Head. The whole world is clean. Demacia. Chapter 69. Forget it, let me confess. Brother Mew. Something went wrong. Demacia was arrested. Li Mew, who was rubbing a magic circle class in the Temple of Nature, was interrupted by a series of friends' messages. He looked at the game system bar and found that the information came from the deputy captain of the field team led by Demacia. Demacia was arrested. He was stunned, and began to reply in the system. What's the situation? Soon, there is a reply over there. We encountered very strong monsters in the wild, and Demacia was taken away. Those monsters are very hideous, much like the half-orcs described by Alice. Orcs. Li Mew frowned. Suddenly, his heart moved. Could it be the squad of orc hunting elves mentioned by Alice? How strong are they? Where did they take Demacia? Li Mew replied again. Those monsters were very strong, and Demacia was destroyed with one punch. We ran away on the spot, and we couldn't contact Demacia ever since. One punch. Li Mew took a breath. Demacia is the first taunt tank in the whole server. He has a lot of blood, and he can be abolished with one punch. How powerful. But soon, his heart moved and he thought of more. Saw him start to reply quickly. This is not necessarily a bad thing. Demacia, if he doesn't know how to start another plot task, please pay attention to his information. I think he may be under control now. Once he is out of control, he will definitely be reply to us. After sending a friend message, Li Mew thought for a while and decided to tell Alice about it immediately. From any angle, with the current player's strength, it should be impossible to deal with half-orcs. If necessary, you still have to ask NPC for help. He has already licked Alice's favorability so high that he is not even as good as Cuckoo Bird. If you need help, the kind-hearted Lady Saint will definitely not refuse. Took a deep breath, Li Mew got up from the cushion. Master Alice, I'm sorry to interrupt your lecture, I have an urgent matter to tell you. When Demacia's hood was taken off, he found himself in a dark cave. He was tied to an iron frame, and in front of him were a few orcs who looked like they could scare a child to cry. The black stone who knocked him out with a punch was impressive, and there was also an orc priest in sheep's clothing. A group of strong guys surrounded him, making him shiver suddenly. Especially, the head is a fierce big bald black stone. Haisha stepped forward and pulled out the cloth from his mouth. Demacia exhaled deeply, but felt the disgusting smell in the cave, and almost passed away. At this moment, the orc finally spoke. Say, what did you do at Phylunqui? What conspiracy are you doing? Who is the chief behind you? Blackstone's deep voice came, very oppressive. Hearing what the orc said, Demacia was taken aback. Huh, I don't seem to be hunting myself. Is this about Fei Lengqi before the investigation? His brain is still very bright, and he figured out the ins and outs in an instant. If he remembers correctly, the main believers of Ural, the of winter and hunting, seem to be half orcs, and they have just removed the incarnation of Ural. This is, the old one, the young one. Demacia feels like he has found the truth. At the same time, he thought of the name of the main storyline. The first act, Ural's conspiracy. Main line. I definitely met the main line again. I'm afraid that it wasn't because of Uller's previous break, he wants revenge, right? Demacia was refreshed. Say it. Blackstone snorted again, and then took out a hot red soldering iron from the campfire. Further away, Demacia also saw whips, maces, iron rods, barbed knives, etc. The corner of his eye twitched. Is this, to be tortured? He glanced at the pain adjustment in the system. 5%, should be able to hold it. It is impossible to surrender and confess. Only with mighty and unyielding can you maintain your heroic personality. Furthermore, since the main line is involved, as the most loyal licking dog of the goddess, how can one reveal the secret to the enemy? Thinking of this, he smiled at the orc, showing white teeth. Good boy, you call me dad, I won't tell you either. Humph. A trace of anger flashed in Blackstone's eyes, and he placed the soldering iron directly on Demacia's chest. Along with the sizzling sound, a scent of meat began to drift in the air. I saw Demacia's eyes widening for an instant, and then the whole person let out a smooth groan. After a while, he sighed quietly. It feels a little bit comfortable. I can come a little longer. Black Rock. This guy, so strong. The orcs glanced at him in surprise. Huh. It's a hard-mouthed long ear. Blackstone threw the soldering iron in his hand and replaced it with a leather whip. Demacia's eyelids twitched and shouted. Then what? You can hit anywhere except the face. Pia. Haisha hit his face with a whip. Demacia. Next, Blackstone continued to use sticks, knives, and nails. He tried all the criminal law methods he learned from the human world, but the spirit in front of him was still as okay, he didn't care. He really doesn't care about the pain. Except when you slap your face. Gradually, even Blackstone couldn't help but feel a trace of respect in his heart. You deserve to be a follower of the of death, able to face pain and death so calmly. Elf, you are indeed a warrior. He snorted and said. After listening to his words, Demacia was taken aback. And many more. Grim Reaper. Isn't he a goddess? How did he become a follower of the of death? Seeing Demacia's surprised eyes, Blackstone sneered. Are you surprised? He put down the torture instrument in his hand and continued to ask. In fact, your identities, www.mtlnovel.com, we already know. Let's talk. What are the plans of the of death and the Lord of the Underworld? Death. Reaper. Demacia has a strange face. Wait. Is there any misunderstanding in this? Looking at your expression, did you finally admit it? Black Rock sneered. Demacia. I said I don't know a of death, do you believe it? He tentatively said. Ha ha. Black Rock continued to sneer. Demacia. I really don't know the of death. He repeated somewhat depressed. Ha ha. Black Rock still sneered. Demacia. After a while, he sighed. Hey, well. Forget it, forget you, I will tell you the truth. Isn't that the of death? Actually, I know, it doesn't matter if you tell you. As he said, Demacia's expression gradually became serious. Seeing him like this, the half-orcs also took seriously. I saw Demacia suddenly raising her head, her expression showing a trace of domineering, and then she said in a low voice. Actually, my name is Thanos, and my real identity is the bearer of the Death Soul World, the captain of the 5th Division of the Gote 13th Team. My mission when I came to Fei Lengqi was to find 7 Dragon Balls, so as to make a wish to the goddess, and then obtain a kaleidoscope writing round eyes, and finally find the treasure left by the legendary Great One Piece Jack Sparrow. After a few words, Haisha and others were stunned. Corpse Soul World. Gote 13 Team. Dragon Ball. Blood Wheel Eyes. Treasure. What the asterisk is this? Chapter 70. This must be some kind of prophecy. In the Temple of Nature. Alice listened solemnly to Li Emu's report, frowning. You mean, Demacia is very likely to be hunted by a half-orc. Because of the limited strength, you want to ask for my help. Li Mu nodded. Yes, Master Alice, you know, we have a way to locate our companion, so we know where Demacia is now. Demacia was still in a team state with his teammates when he was caught, so his coordinates will be displayed on the small map of the system. Therefore, although he cannot be contacted for the time being, players can also do it if it is positioned. These things, Alice and Basaka also knew about these things after being together for so long. I think, since the orcs have caught him, this is also an opportunity. Didn't you say that the orcs may have a stronghold in the fairy forest? I think this is an opportunity to destroy the orcs' stronghold in one fell swoop. After Li Mu finished speaking, looking at Alice's hesitant expression, he continued. And I think the goddess will also be happy about it. Mother God Lord. Hearing these words, Alice was moved. But her expression is a bit tangled. After a while, she sighed. It's not that I don't want to help, but since the orcs have a stronghold, then there is a possibility that there are orcs priests. After, she glanced at Li Mu and explained. You also know that there are many enemies of Lord Mother Goddess. Although he has recovered, he cannot come to the front desk for safety, so as not to be madly hit by the enemy. So, as his followers and beloved, Basaka and I must not appear in front of the beloved of other gods, because this is very likely to cause the resuscitation of the mother to be exposed in advance. But you are different, you are not believers, and your souls are weird, so you won't be suspicious. After listening to Alice, Li Mu couldn't help but smile. But, our strength is estimated to be unable to defeat the orcs. Their leader defeated Demacia with just one blow. One hit. Alice fell into deep thought, her face solemn. That's probably a half-orc warrior from the upper ranks of Black Iron, you are indeed no opponents to half-orcs of this level. After thinking about it, she said. This matter. I will pray to Lord Mother Goddess. Lord Mother Goddess is kind and omniscient. He will definitely give us enlightenment. After speaking, she came to Eve's idol and began to pray with her eyes closed. When Eve felt Alice's prayer, he was browsing through the Blue Star Network with relish an e-book called, Game Planning Must Read. It's Alice. What happened to the player? A move in his heart interrupted his reading for a while. Although there is a game system, it is impossible for Eve to monitor the player's movements all the time. Therefore, he once told Alice that if the player has any problems or encounters, he should pray and report to him as soon as possible. Now, what happened to the player? He first glanced at the small blue light group representing the players in the grid space, and found that there was nothing serious. I felt a little more at ease, and Eve listened to Alice's prayer. After a while, his mood was a little weird. Demacia was caught by a half-orc. Player asks Alice for help. He pondered for a moment, and he sank his consciousness into the little light ball that symbolized Demacia. His vision changed suddenly, and Eve quickly seed Demacia's situation. In the dim grotto, Demacia was wounded all over, tied to a stone pillar, and it seemed that he had been severely tortured, while a group of half-orcs surrounded him. This is not just hunting, but interrogation. Combined with the conversation of the orcs, Eve quickly guessed the truth. I didn't expect Uller to send someone to investigate so soon. There was a sense of urgency in his heart suddenly. And when he saw the serious expression of the half-orc, Eve squeaked again in his heart. And many more. Demacia, isn't this guy saying something he shouldn't say? At this time, the leading orc spoke up. You said, your name is Thanos. What is the captain of which squad under Reaper? Where is the Soul World? What are Dragon Ball and Shilulanian? Who is Jack Spyro? What is his treasure? Blackstone stared at Demacia, and asked every word. Eve, what kind of mess is this? For a moment, he was a little dazed, thinking that he had traveled back to Blue Star's genre animation club. When he saw Blackstone questioning seriously, Demacia was also shocked. God, I'm just bullshit. They believed it. He whispered. This, I have to say. As the world-famous noble race of Segus, the elves have always been known for their unity, kindness and honesty. In their worldview, the word lie does not exist at all. In other words, the elves cannot lie. Either they don't tell, or if they want to tell, they must tell the truth. This has become the persona of the elves in the world of Segs. Therefore, after listening to Demasia's words, although the half-orcs looked dazed, they didn't doubt the truth. Hearing Demasia's whisper, Eve quickly guessed the cause and effect. This fellow Demacia ran the train under interrogation, right? After thinking about it, the player is not afraid of torture, how can he tell his secrets casually? It's quite possible that things like molesting NPCs can be done. Seeing that the orc actually believed what he said, Demasia's heart moved, and she continued to talk nonsense. Ahem. The corpse soul world is the residence of the ***** of death. Dragon Ball is a kind of precious treasure. According to legend, as long as you collect 7 of them, you can summon the dragon and realize your wish. And Xiao Lun Yan is a powerful blood magic. As for Jack Spyro, that is a great hero in the human world. By obtaining his treasure, you can get the world's greatest wealth, fame and power. Demacia shook his head and changed his mind. Eve and the half-orcs still looked dumbfounded. Why can he understand every word he said, but why can't he understand all the connections? At this moment, the only half-orc priest thought for a while, and suddenly exclaimed. I understand. Demacia looked at him in surprise. What did he understand? Eve also looked confused. What does he understand? Heisha's eyes flashed, and he looked at the only priest, respectfully. Priest, what did you find? Although his strength is much higher than the half-orc priest under the black iron, as a servant of the gods, the priest deserves his respect. Saw the priest take a deep breath and said. Shenlong, powerful magic, mysterious treasure. Master Blackstone, we can't understand these news, it should be some kind of encryption, I am afraid it is some kind of prophecy. Although we can't understand, but if you report the information to Lord Father, he will definitely be able to see the secret. The priest's expression is extremely enthusiastic. Master Blackstone, www.mtlnovel.com, I hope you can help me immediately, arrange the sacrifice ceremony, and inform the true god of the news. If you can report these news to the first time, you and I will definitely be able to get the Father God's reward. He is not a fanatic. Unless the soul rises into the kingdom of God after death, the power of faith is not enough to support direct cross-plane communication with the gods, and rituals are necessary. After hearing the priest's words, Demacia and Eve were silent for a moment. Reward. I'm afraid there will be a whip. A moment later, Eve sighed in her heart. How wise are the elves who can be chased and killed by these mental retardations? But think about it, it seems that the elves are already at Tendon. But since the orcs are so mentally retarded, he doesn't worry anymore. Sacrifice magic circle. Eve has seen it. There is no Uller idol here. If you want to set up an interplanetary sacrifice circle, you need to worry about the materials. And this is also an opportunity for players. As long as the operation is done properly, even if the players are not strong, they can be overcast. By the way, maybe I can give myself a wave of delicious life energy. Thinking of this, Eve thought, ready to release the task. And at this moment, he suddenly noticed the stone prison in the cave. Okay. His sight became sharp in an instant. It's really the base of the elf hunting team. Eve's voice was cold and solemn. He paused, re-edited the original mission, and contacted Alice. Subscribe to Chinese Novel Audiobook YouTube channel Chapter 71, New Task. Master Mother God has already responded to me, and he will tell you the revelation directly soon. Inside the Temple of Nature, Alice looked at Li Mu with joy. Only gradually, her expression became serious. After a while, she sighed. This time, I will go with you. Okay. Li Mu was slightly taken aback. Didn't you say that you are worried about exposure? Alice glanced at him and explained. The Mother Goddess issued an oracle, the half-orcs still imprison our people in their hands. The elves never give up their companions. So I have to check it out anyway. But don't worry. Master Mother has his own arrangements, and I will not be reckless. In fact, after having an incarnation, with the strength of Eve's incarnation, in theory, he can directly kill the orcs. Just somehow, whenever Eve has such a thought, there is a sense of anxiety in her heart. The true god's premonition is very accurate, so he decided to give everything to the player and NPC first, and he would observe and observe in the dark before speaking. And shortly after Alice finished speaking, the players were also notified by the system. Open black lens bracket ding, close black lens bracket. Player Demacia trigger mission, Orcs hunting team. Task objective: destroy all enemies in the Orc stronghold. And rescue the elf companions captured by the Orcs. Close black lens bracket. Task time limit, unlimited. Number of tasks, unlimited. Task level, 10 plus. Open black lens bracket task reward. Experience value, perfect resurrection, contribution degree close black lens bracket. Demacia was taken aback, then happy. Fuck, I knew it. His shout caused a group of orcs to look foolishly. But soon, he was stunned again. Save my companion. Is it me? Heisha glanced at him and ordered. Throw this guy in prison. After finishing talking, a few half-orcs came forward and took Demacia away and put them in prison. Demacia doesn't care, his attention is now fully focused on the system frame in his vision. This mission is different from other missions. It even brought a plot introduction, which made him enjoy it. Open black lens bracket introduction to the mission plot, close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket is the greatest enemy of the elves. The Orcs hunting team has always threatened the safety of the elves. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. After hundreds of years of hunting and hunting, countless elves were brutally murdered, and the once glorious race gradually declined. Close black lens bracket. And now, the half-orc hunting team finally stretched out their evil hands on you. Because they observed your infinite resurrection ability, they suspected that you were related to death, and tortured you. Open black lens bracket is the brave and fearless chosen one. You did not bow to the evil forces, but never compromised, and wittily used lies to deceive the orcs. Close black lens bracket. Half-orcs counted. They decided to report your lie as truth to Ural, the asterisk of winter and hunting. And you were imprisoned. Looking at the constantly floating system messages, Demacia looked excited. So high-end. What a high-end hidden mission. Will automatically generate a plot based on my actions. After that, the plot continues. Now, it's time to continue to use your ingenuity. Close black lens bracket. By observing the half-orcs, you find that they have to pass the sacrificial circle to contact the true god, which gives you some ideas. Seeing this, Demacia was taken aback. Okay. Do half-orcs still need to sacrifice to contact the true god? Isn't it just a prayer? Woo. It seems that the priest actually said it just now. Wait. I have no idea. Demacia complained in his heart. And the plot continues. The orcs are extremely powerful. You don't think the chosen can defeat them, so you must get the assistance of NPCs. And because of the existence of the orc priests, Alice and Basaka can't take action by themselves. Demacia. I think. At this moment, you suddenly recalled some knowledge about the sacrificial circle. You can find a way to get rid of the orc priest. Close black lens bracket. And once there is no half-orc priest, the favored one of the goddess will no longer have any worries, and can take action against the remaining half-orcs. Close black lens bracket. Demacia. Can this happen? He stared blankly. Wait, when will I get the magic circle? And, I'm tied up, what can I do? He muttered in his heart. However, your own situation cannot do this. Close black lens bracket. At this time, you think of your teammates. You have a plan in your heart. Demacia. Can this happen? Wait. How come there is a feeling of being appointed? Clearly arranged. Forget it, I can't take care of that much, it's important to contact my teammates. Do tasks. This must be a task reminder. Speaking of it, he was caught for so long, and he forgot to contact his teammates. Thinking of this, Demacia quickly opened the friend list in his consciousness, and was shocked when he saw that the information was 99 plus. Are all asking him about his safety, and the task. Took a deep breath and Demacia excitedly contacted Li Mew. Brother Mew, ha ha ha. I have activated the mission again. It's a hunting team of orcs. And I thought of a great idea to wipe them out in one fell swoop. While looking at the system information, he told Li Mew on the other side of everything. In the Temple of Nature, Li Mew, who received the news from Demacia, was surprised. This guy, too lucky, right? After some exchanges, the two people's opinions quickly reached agreement. I already know, your plan is really good. I will contact the Dark Iron players closest to you and ask them to team up with you. I will also contact Xiao Xian Miao, Bento, and Alice and Barthaka. Go to support and help you complete the task. Li Mu replied. After thinking about it, he added. You must hold on, no matter what happens, don't die, or the coordinates will be gone. And you have to take care of the captured elves. Demarsha. You guys make a reservation first. It's so dirty and smelly here, I want to commit suicide directly and go back to the city. Wait, you mean the detained elf? Isn't it me? He replied. You ghost. You are a member of the elf race, you are a hostage. You are looking for it. Don't be dirty, you can smell it. Li Mu replied. Demarsha. Well, you guys hurry up, you reading www.uakanshu.com, I don't want to stay for a second. He replied bitterly. At this moment, a crisp sound interrupted his thoughts. Are you okay? Demacia was taken aback. He looked back and saw three weak figures in the prison. And when his eyes focused on the other's delicate face and pointed ears, he couldn't help but shouted excitedly. Fuck. Elf. There are still elves closed here. It turned out to be really hostage. Those are three thin elves. They are dirty, they seem very young, they look like 12 or 3-year-old children. One man and two women. And the one who spoke to Demacia boldly was the only male baby elf. The remaining two female elves hide behind him timidly. Their appearance is very embarrassing, their expressions are still a bit of trepidation and fear, but their eyes are purer than ever. You shed a lot of blood. The young elf said timidly, with a trace of worry in the words. The black and white eyes, the innocent eyes looking at Demacia, and the traces of concern from the heart, made him involuntarily think of the pure little angel. His expression became very complicated in an instant. After a while, he sighed. Hey, Brother Mu, I changed my mind. I'm not in a hurry to leave, you guys hurry up, I will never waver during this time, I will stay well. By the way, when you come, bring some delicious berries and 3 sets of clean clothes. Chapter 72, Players Ambush. Demacia found 3 young elves in the cell of the orc stronghold. When he posted the screenshot to the forum, the players exploded almost instantly. Human beings are very emotional creatures, and they have a natural sympathy for the weak. At the same time, most people lack resistance to cute creatures. The young elves fit this perfectly. Big eyes are extremely innocent, the white and tender skin seems to be pierced by a light touch, and the face that has not yet grown is absolutely pure and lovely. Coupled with the dirty clothes, the panic and desperate emotions in his expression from time to time, as well as the involuntary faint alertness and alienation, the 3 young elves look like 3 being bullied. Little milk cat. For a while, the sympathy of all players will flood. Too cute. Ah, no. It's too pathetic. Although it is a game, this expression is too foul, right? The half-orcs are too much, they dare to hit our noble and beautiful elves. This task counts me. Demacia, you stay on the side, don't move your hands. Demarsha. Go and go. Save our elf companions. I'm coming. Players who were excited about the hidden missions became more enthusiastic. In Eve's perception, he was surprised to find that there were only a few dozen players who had accepted the task, and it quickly grew to hundreds of people. They joined Demacia's team one after another, and began to move in 2s and 3s towards the stronghold. And the reason is not only the reward of the task, but also a screenshot of Demacia. In the end, Li Mu even had to turn on the group voice and acted as the team command, so as not to rush through the bad things. You guys are too low ICN. Eve was silent. The sun sets. In the southeast area of the fairy forest, 4 orcs under the dark iron are walking in the forest. In their hands, holding a dead unicorn deer. It is a kind of monster under the black iron. The blood has strong magical properties, and it is an excellent material for drawing magic circles. However, this kind of monster is difficult to find, and it took a lot of effort for the half-orcs to finally catch it. They walked and talked. Hey, it's not easy. It took us a full day to hunt down a wind deer. I don't know if the priest will be angry. No way, the forest in this area is too barren. If you want me to say, the priest is too impatient, do you have to make arrangements to communicate with God the Father now? Hehe, you don't know this. If you report the secret to the tribe, how can you directly report the rewards you get to the father? That's right. But as he walked, the orc in front suddenly stopped. And many more. His face solemnly looked left and right. Something's wrong, it's too quiet here. After finishing speaking, he sniffed again and smelled it. In an instant, his face changed. No, there are enemies. As soon as S voice fell, with a hit, countless violent magical fluctuations came. Fireballs, wind blades, lightning strikes, they hit their faces like rain. The 4 half-orcs were stunned in an instant. They quickly threw away their prey and began to avoid. But even so, because the magic is too dense, they were unfortunately recruited, and in a blink of an eye, they were all smashed. The most serious person was even abolished directly. Before they could react, there was another shout of the same. Go! Hearing only a hula, more than a dozen tall figures burst out all around. They all wore gorgeous equipment and looked excited. They carried their weapons and yelled at them, Ula, and Chong Ah, with their hideous expressions as if they had seen their father kill their enemies. Where did the spirit pop up? How did the elves know they were here? Looking at the 4 half-orcs with dull faces, Li Emu's mouth hooked, he released a vine technique without any difficulty, and commanded. Don't fight hard, everyone, they are very strong, we have a lot of people, and they will kill them a little bit. After said, he added. Don't hit them in the face. He has been leading the players to ambush here for a long time. Because of Demasia's connection, the movement of the orcs has been under the control of the player. And if half-orcs want to draw a sacrificial circle, they will definitely hunt for beasts in the forest. The beasts that can meet their needs are far away from their strongholds, especially the main prey, the unicorn deer. Players just know where they are. Through the small map shared by Demacia, Limu judged that this should be the only way for the orcs to return, so he brought a group of players to ambush early. Now, I finally caught someone. The strength of the half-orcs is very strong. Although the players have reached the lower position of the Black Iron, the combat experience is far weaker than them. However, because the player is not afraid of pain and death, and really fights with the half-orcs, instead, there is a kind of desperate aura that makes several half-orcs restrained. But even so, several players fell after the first battle. It's just that there are a large number of players. No matter how strong the orcs are, they are still outnumbered, and their wounds are increasing. When the strength is similar, or when the strength is slightly higher, the human C tactics will always be the player's nirvana. And the players are also destined to become a nightmare for enemies who are not too far from them. They are crazy. They must be crazy. Looking at the group of desperate elves in front of them, the 4 half-orcs were finally afraid. They backed away and shouted loudly. We surrender. We surrender. We are willing to leave the fairy forest and stop fighting. After saying this, the corner of the head of the orc grinned slightly. This is their nirvana. The elves are peace-loving creatures. As long as they are willing to surrender, this group of straight-headed long ears will spread out and will not rush to kill. This has been the experience summed up by half-orcs hunting elves for many years, and it has been tried and tested. Only this time, the elves did not stop. Surrender. Hehe, we don't take prisoners, you should obediently become contribution and experience points. The players laughed, and the attack became more fierce. They can't hold on anymore. Kill them. Down with the evil orcs and save our fellow citizens. Ula. Listening to the shouts of the elves, looking at the bloodthirsty murderous intent in their eyes, www.mtlnovel.com, the 4 half-orcs were shocked. And many more. Are they going to kill them all? When did these elves become so bloodthirsty? For a time, several half-orcs were inexplicably timid, feeling that their knowledge of elves collapsed in an instant. Is this really an elf? Looking at the hideously distorted handsome face, they murmured in disbelief. Players did not give them the opportunity to think more, instead they used various skills to attack the half-orcs frantically. One person makes a cut, and then retreats, and the others make up. Very close cooperation. Finally, the first orc couldn't hold on. After a knife in the chest, he slowly fell. After the death of the first half-orc, the players became more aura. In a blink of an eye, the remaining half-orcs gradually couldn't hold on. In the end, at the cost of the death of 8 players, the last half-orc also fell into the chaos. Then, a group of players can't wait to pick up their clothes and start roll equipment. Li Mu did not participate, but looked at the blood-stained body of the half-orc with a solemn expression. Unexpectedly, the fighting power of the orcs is so powerful. They organized a total of 27 players above level 11 in ambush this time, but they paid such a large number of casualties. This is just a half-orc under the black iron. Li Mu had no choice but to sigh that the fighting power of intelligent creatures and beasts without wisdom at the same level was still incomparable. Sighed, he shouted to an elf girl in the team. Little Shanmiao, start to give them a box lunch. Chapter 73. Our allies are here. Al is 80 years old this year. Since he can remember, he has often heard his grandpa talk about the glorious history of race. Once, they had the largest empire in the world. Once, they established the most brilliant civilization in the world. However, after the disaster, the people fell into position, cursed, and gradually fell into decline. He can't imagine how prosperous the ethnic group was thousands of years ago. In his opinion, such a prosperous age is like a myth. In his memory, the real life is always hiding and wandering. However, his grandpa believed that everything would be fine. Al, you have to remember that we are a great silver race. The current decline is only for a while. Once the mother returns, our age will definitely come back again. His grandfather often said that. Al once asked Grandpa, who is the mother god? And Grandpa told him that Mother God is the greatest existence in this world, the real master of this world, and the benevolent mother who protects them. So, do we also have our own gods? He asked in surprise. Silly boy. Grandpa touched his head with a fanatical and religious expression. The mother god is not a trivial god, but a true ancient god. From that day on, Al was full of expectations for the mother goddess. He longs for a happy and stable life, and also longs for a small garden of his own. However, until the day of his grandfather's death, he still did not see the return of the mother goddess. But even so, he still believes in Grandpa's words. Until that day, a group of ferocious-looking half-orcs finally discovered their settlement. After a cruel battle, the young and Zhuang people died in battle, while the women and children became prisoners. Among them, he and two other younger sisters are included. At this time, Al realized that the life of drifting and hiding is not the saddest. The most difficult thing is to destroy the family and become a prisoner. The detained ethnic women gradually disappeared one by one. And they were locked in a small stone prison by half-orcs, without seeing the sun. Every day, only the green fruit satisfies the hunger. According to the orcs, they want to wait for the human caravan to pass by and sell Al and others for a good price. Humanity. Al gave a shock. If half-orcs are demons, then humans are undoubtedly demons. When he was in the ethnic group, he heard countless times about the tragic stories of those people who became slaves to humans. Those cunning, greedy, lewd do everything. At this moment, he even wanted to die on a hunger strike. But when he thinks of the other two sisters, his heart softens. Al, you are a boy. You must protect your sisters. Before he died, this was the last warning from his grandfather. Thinking of this, Al clenched his fist. Grandpa, I'm so useless. I'm so useless. As time goes by, Al has become more and more desperate. However, in the face of his two young sisters, he can only be strong and self-reliant. He was thinking of ways to escape all the time, but the orcs really stared at them too hard. Such days have lasted for several months. Until today. With a stab, the prison door that had not been opened for a long time was finally opened. Al slapped a spirit and looked outside vigilantly, while his two younger sisters hid behind him like frightened deer. Is it finally the day? Is this, to sell us? Al clenched his fists. At the same time, he began to think about how to take the opportunity to escape. It's just that the orcs didn't come in, but threw in a tightly bound figure, then turned and left. Al was taken aback for a moment, and looked at the figure. Fine. Elf. This is the first time he saw his tribe after a few months. That is a very strange elf. His whole body was blood, he was seriously injured, his face was abnormally pale, and his breath was weak. However, his eyes are especially bright. Just a glance, Al felt that he couldn't look away. This tribe is very different. He seems to have an aura of fearlessness, which Al has never seen in anyone else. His eyes are not as bleak and muddy as the people of the past. There is a faint smile at the corner of his mouth, with a different kind of unruly. It seems that everything in this world is very lightly viewed by him. He even stuck his tongue out against the back of the orc when he turned around. This is a funny guy. And, full of vitality and hope. Such an existence, Al has never seen it among the elves. For a while, his heart was full of curiosity. Hesitated for a moment, he spoke softly. Are you okay? The other party seemed to be taken aback. When he turned around and saw Al, he couldn't help but yelled out. Fuck. Fairy. Al was taken aback by his voice and hid back slightly. He saw the strange elf face in front of him changed several times. He was delighted, excited, and complicated again. Al hesitated, then asked. You shed a lot of blood. Are you really okay? Then, Al saw the strange elf's expression suddenly softened. The other party nodded and smiled while coughing up blood. Ahem, I'm fine. Al, you vomited blood. He didn't care about anything else, and hurriedly stepped forward to help the other party loosen the tie. Are you also caught? He asked curiously while wrapping the wound with a cloth strip. After being relieved, this strange elf first nodded, then shook his head. No, I'm just a well-behaved locator. Al. Al found again that this strange elf was also very strange. After further contact, Al found that although this elf was a bit strange, he was a gentle and optimistic person. They started chatting. This strange fairy tells many interesting stories, www.mtlnovel.com, that Al and his sisters like very much. He knows a lot, and there are always some ideas that Al has never thought of. All kinds of bizarre and fun stories make Al even more addicted. Gradually, he somewhat liked this funny guy. Through chatting, Al also knew the origin of this elf. He comes from a very far away place, a warrior summoned by a goddess. Goddess. Hearing this word, Al was curious. Brother Demacia, will the elves believe in other true gods? At this moment, he saw the other person smile. His expression became a bit deep in an instant. Do not. His expression became very religious. Saw him draw a tree symbol on his chest, and said in a deep voice. There is only one goddess in my heart. Seeing that symbol, Al was stunned for an instant. Because of this symbol, his grandfather once drew it countless times. The goddess of the elves. Does it really exist? Was he called by the mother goddess? For a moment, Al felt a little trance. Al. In a trance, Al heard the other party calling him. He turned his head and saw Brother Demacia's eyes. Demacia looked out of the cell, while the corners of his mouth curled up slightly, with a wicked smile. El looked along his line of sight and found that there were 4 more half-orcs in the cave at some point, and their hands were holding a monster that seemed to have been ravaged by magic. Our allies are here. Al heard this. Chapter 74. We are immortal. Allies. Al looked at the 4 strong and ugly half-orcs, feeling a little dazed for a while. Soon, he saw a half-orc in sheep's clothing approached, and while inspecting the body of the monster, he nodded. Good job. Next, you will help me bleed. The blood of monsters possesses magical power and is highly active, so even if it has been dead for several hours, as long as it is handled properly, the blood of unicorn deer will not coagulate. Al soon saw several half-orcs cut off Fenglu's neck, slowly releasing thick blood. The orcs in sheep's clothing took out a weird bone pen, stained with blood and began to paint on the ground. Al looked at his movements, then his expression gradually became surprised. Sacrifice circle. He wants to communicate with the gods. Do you recognize it? Demacia glanced at him in surprise. He was surprised that such a small child could even recognize the sacrificial circle. Al nodded, a look of nostalgia. Well, I used to study with Grandpa more than 20 years ago. 20 years ago. Demacia almost didn't choke. Cough cough cough. He couldn't help but coughed and started coughing up blood again. Al quickly looked at him worriedly. Brother Demacia, are you okay? Big brother. Cough cough cough. Demacia coughed harder. He laughed a few times, wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth, glanced at Al weirdly, and shook his head. I'm fine. After finished speaking, he hesitated for a while and asked carefully. Xiaojia. Ahem, Al, how old are you this year? Al scratched his head and said shyly. If I remember correctly, I just passed 80 this spring. Demacia. He started to calculate his grandfather's age. Oh, no, it's Grandpa's age. Seeing the silence of the other party, Al quickly explained. Brother Demacia. Don't think I am only 80 years old. I know a lot. I am not a kid anymore. Demacia. After a while, he sighed and said. Yes, you are not a kid anymore. After finished, he murmured. It can be seen from the heavens, he just celebrated his 18th birthday last month. Fortunately, it's just a game. Al continued to watch the sheepskin orcs move. Following the depiction, a huge array appeared on the ground soon. Then, the sheepskin half-orc knelt in front of the circle, and began to chant a curvaceous curse. With his singing, the red magic circle gradually bloomed with a deep light, and waves of magical power continued to converge. He is going to succeed. Al couldn't help but said. Although he doesn't know what the orcs are going to do, as evil enemies, what they have to do, must be bad. Don't worry, they won't succeed. Aside, Demacia's laughter came. In the blood, there is added material. His voice was gloating. Al looked at Demacia strangely, not understanding why he said that. But soon, he understood why. At the moment when the wave of the magic circle reached its peak, I saw that the original black and red blood seemed to be affected by some inexplicable effect, and suddenly began to sizzle. Then, the light of the magic circle suddenly began to flicker. The face of the orc in sheep's clothing changed. Magic. Magic power is boiling. No. There is a problem with this blood. Before he could continue to say anything, the magic circle suddenly burst into red light and exploded with a bang. Priest. Heisha's face tightened, and he hurried forward. And the 4 orcs who assisted in the bloodletting also followed. However, when the smoke dissipated, the orc priest closest to the circle was dying under the double blow of magic backlash and explosion. Kuroishi's face turned ugly for an instant. And at this moment, 3 of the 4 half-orcs suddenly drew their weapons and rushed towards him at the same time. I saw a few people faintly glowing, turning into 3 elves before an instant. Elf. All this happened in a blink of an eye, and Al had to watch. Yes, they are my companions, they are here to save us. Demacia smiled. Save us. Al looked at the elves blankly, shocked. And watching the unexpected scene, all the orcs were stunned. Elf. Black Rock was taken aback first, then furious. A fierce light flashed in his eyes, and he flew a kick, kicking the 3 elves out. The 3 of them hit the wall directly, spouting a mouthful of blood, and then fell softly to the ground. Humph. Black Rock let out a cold snort of disdain. But soon, his face changed. Not good. He turned his head quickly and found that the last orc had pierced the dagger in his hand into the chest of the orc priest lying on the ground. The orc priest slightly opened his mouth, his eyes were a little bit of fear and dazedness, and he didn't seem to know what happened. He twitched a few times, then twisted his neck, no more breath. The orc who stabbed him to death changed into an elf at the same time. Gray-black hair, indifferent expression, is a box lunch. Asshole. Kuroishi's eyes were completely red. The orcs have no wizards. Every priest is a precious spellcaster for half-orcs. They are not only responsible for communicating with the gods, but also for assistance and treatment in the tribe. The priest died. Even if Blackstone completed the task this time, he would be punished. Black Rock was completely angry. Saw him roar, drew a scimitar and slashed at the lunch. Ben looked solemn, and quickly avoided. He turned over like a vigorous lynx, while Blackstone's scimitar slashed on the ground, directly cutting a 3-meter-deep gully. Catch this ****** bastard. Heisha gritted his teeth. The remaining half-orcs roared and rushed to the box lunch at the same time. While the lunch box took a deep breath, he used the skills Air Step and Speed Flying Leap to avoid. Run away. Run away. Al grabbed the railing of the stone prison, www.mtlnovel.com, his expression was very worried. However, just as Bento was about to get out of his body, a stout hand grabbed his shoulder. Caught you. Heisha sneered, using his hands hard. The shoulder of the Bento was shattered in an instant, and blood was splashed. It's just that his expression is still indifferent, it seems that the pain is not in his eyes at all. A trace of cruelty flashed in Heisha's eyes, and he roared. Dead. Then opened his hands and covered the head of Bento. Under Al's horrified gaze, Bento was abruptly twisted his head. His body twitched a few times, and he fell to the ground slowly. What? Al covered his mouth, and a layer of mist clouded his pupils for an instant. At this time, a big hand was on his shoulder. He sobbed his head and saw Demasia's pale face. It's just that the elven brother who just met was neither angry nor sad, but smiled slightly. Don't worry, they are not dead. No, not dead. Al was taken aback, then turned his head away. At this time, he was surprised to find that the fallen elven corpses had gradually faded and then slowly disappeared. Hey, our chosen one is the favored one of the goddess, an immortal existence. Aside, Demasia's voice came again, with unprecedented pride and confidence. At the same time, a vague shout of killing came from outside the cave. Listen, our troops are here. Demacia said triumphantly. Chapter 75. What's the problem? When Blackstone saw a few elven corpses on the ground slowly disappearing, he knew it was not good. And when those shouts faintly came from outside, his face finally changed. Not good. We are probably exposed. At the same time, a trace of doubt came into his heart. Where is the problem? On the way, the orc priests have erased their tracks, how would the elves know their whereabouts? And when will the long ears of this group of rectums use tricks? Until now, Blackstone still feels unbelievable that these proud elves will turn into their most annoying half-orcs, will deceive them and kill the priest directly. This is not like a way that elves can come up with, but like those cunning humans. It's just that at this moment he can no longer care about that much. Although these strange elves who are suspected of possessing immortality are weak and small, Blackstone does not dare to bet whether there is a stronger guy behind them. Black Rock has always been a cautious person. He never dealt with enemies who couldn't figure out the bottom, and never showed all his whole cards. His caution even brought him ridicule. But even so, Blackstone did not give up the quality he learned from humans. Facts have proved that his caution is right. Those reckless guys who had laughed at him have been promoted to the kingdom of God in battle after battle. And he is alive and well. It's just that this time he felt that he was planted inexplicably. The priest died, his mission was actually a failure. But fortunately, he also caught an elf. Thinking of this, he turned his head and glanced at Demacia in the cell, his expression changed a bit, and finally gritted his teeth. Take them, let's walk down the secret road. He doesn't plan to head on with those strange elves. If he can take the captured elves back, and add the secret tortured from his mouth, maybe he can still be forgiven by the chief priest. Thinking of this, Blackstone has already retreated. At his command, the orcs took Demacia and the three young elves out of the prison and walked into another secret passage in the cave. This secret road is connected to another hidden underground cave, which leads directly to 1 kilometer away. This account will be calculated later. Heisha glanced bitterly at the direction of the cave entrance, and ordered his men to retreat into the secret passage. After the last person entered, he took a deep breath and used all his strength to smash the cave wall. The cave, it collapsed immediately, blocking the way to enter. And Black Rock entered the secret road at the last moment when the cave collapsed. Dozens of half-orcs are slowly advancing in the secret road. And Blackstone is still thinking about what went wrong. Question. Where is it? He has been very careful, so how can he expose his trail? Are the tribesmen who went hunting caught and revealed their secrets? But those half-orcs are the warriors he personally selected. Even if they die, they will never betray the tribe. The movement of the elf was too fast, and he couldn't believe it almost. It's like, as if someone was showing them the way. Along the way, Blackstone couldn't think of anything. And the team of half-orcs, gradually finally came out of the secret road. They drilled through the secret tunnel, their sight suddenly brightened, and they returned to the forest. Kuroishi breathed a sigh of relief. Anyway, it's safe. Thinking of this, he breathed a sigh of relief, with a trace of satisfaction on his face. And at this moment, the surrounding jungle suddenly moved, and hundreds of tall elves suddenly appeared. Kuroishi's expression stiffened. Looking at the gorgeously equipped and excited figures, the corners of his mouth twitched, and his expression was stunned for a while. Jing. Fairy. Where did they come from? How did they know they are here? When the elves saw the half-orcs, their excited expressions became more excited. Found them. Look. There is Demacia there. The 3 cuties are here too. Destroy these evil orcs and save our fellow citizens. Ula. They shouted, and then rushed over bravely. Looking at these desperate elves, a trace of anger flashed through Blackstone's eyes. If it is silver or black iron's superior strength, that's all. These elves have the highest strength and are only in the middle stage of black iron's lower ranks. With such power, even want to stop them. Go! He yelled, took out a mace and shot a rushing figure into a sieve. Fuck! It's fierce. His actions startled the other elves. At this time, Blackstone heard a nasty voice from the elf. That's the boss. Don't fight him. Everyone can hold the army of half-orcs. What is boss? Black Rock was stunned. But soon, he realized that he was talking about himself. Because next, all the elves avoided him and began to pester the other orcs. And more, they began to besiege the 3 orcs who escorted the elves. Suddenly, as if he realized something, Heisha's expression changed. Not good. They must be delaying time. He gritted his teeth, backhanded several elves who were trying to rescue Demacia and others, and slapped them to death, while shouting at the rest of the orcs. Don't delay with them, let's break out. However, as soon as the voice fell, the entire forest floor suddenly began to tremble. Boom! Boom! The sound is loud, like the footsteps of a giant. Hearing this voice, Demacia, who was escorted by a half-orc, hooked his mouth. www.mtlnovel.com. I saw him suddenly shout. Furious. Then, a powerful aura broke out from him. For an instant, Demacia's complexion looked terrifying, and her whole body swelled a little bit, and she could faintly see the green veins and blood vessels like a snake. Open black lens bracket violent close black lens bracket. This is a desperate skill he exchanged, which can stimulate his full potential and burst out powerful power in an instant. Lasts 10 minutes. The price is death. I saw Demacia picking up a scimitar on the ground with his backhand, and slashing the orcs who hadn't reacted beside him to the ground. Then, he picked up the other 2 baby elves and shouted at Al. Let's go. Don't lick at this time, but when will? Seeing Demacia who broke free of control for an instant, Blackstone was furious. He wanted to stop him, but suddenly, a few thick vines appeared on the ground, stopping his movement. This vine is so tough, Blackstone was shocked to find that with his black iron uppermost pinnacle, level 40, strength, he couldn't break free. Then, a huge figure enveloped him. What is this? The tree man. Around, there were sounds of fear from other orcs. Heisha's heart tightened, he quickly raised his head, and then saw a huge body. The body is more than 30 meters tall than the dragon clan, the thick branches almost cover the sky, and the pair of indifferent eyes look at him as if looking at a dead person. For a moment, Blackstone's pupils shrank suddenly. Oak Guardian. He almost lost his voice. Subscribe to Chinese Novel Audiobook YouTube channel Chapter 76, Blackstone's Trump Card. Uncle B is here. Uncle B. Kill them. With the arrival of the Oak Guard Barthaka, the players cheered. But Basaka stretched out his arms, struggling to hit the ground, and roared. War. Sacrifice. In an instant, his arms turned into countless vines, entangled with half-orcs. Under the horrified eyes of the orcs, they were entangled one by one, and then robbed of their vitality. In a blink of an eye, they turned into corpses, and finally weathered into ashes. Fuck. Uncle B, don't fight the mobs. Leave the mobs to us. Uncle B. Hit the big guy with a mace. That guy killed many of us. Seeing that Basaka killed 4 or 5 half-orcs in an instant, the other elves seemed a bit painful. After hearing the wizard's words, Basaka looked at Blackstone again. A sense of crisis of life and death immediately hit Blackstone's heart. He felt his scalp numb. Uktrahir Guard. Heisha once served as the guardian of the Holy Land, and he knows the legendary creatures depicted on the murals more clearly. During the Silver Age, the legend of the Oak Guardian was circulating on the continent of Segus. Their strength is terrifying, the highest is even close to the demigod, and they can fight with the legendary dragon. Their abilities are even more weird, and the druid's unique war sacrifice skills give them an unparalleled ability to fight in group battles. Even the weakest Oak Tree Guard has the strength of silver, and the average strength of the Oak Tree Guard is above gold. If it weren't for the fact that the Oak Guardians did not have the ability to give birth to offspring, they could even be called a golden race as famous as the dragon. However, it is not the legends of the Oak Tree Guard that makes Blackstone more fearful, but the meaning represented by the appearance of the opponent. Oak tree guard, only the world tree that controls nature and life can be enlightened. And the life guarded by the oak tree is also as prosperous as the world tree. In an instant, Kuroishi understood everything. Behind the elves is not the asterisk of death, but the world tree. Only the world tree can illuminate the oak guardian. Only the world tree can get the allegiance of the elves. And the Erie's strange resurrection ability can also be explained. The ability to resurrect the dead goes against the law, and actions that go against the law will be backlashed by the law. Because the secret of the soul is involved, the price is said to be high. Is so big that even the true asterisk is unwilling to bear it. And only by mastering the priesthood related to life and death, can the dead be brought back to life at a relatively affordable price. Among the true gods, only two of them can do it since ancient times. One is Hela, the asterisk of death. And the other one is the world tree Uktrahir. Before this, Blackstone also thought that these weird elves were Hela's handwriting, but after seeing the oak guard, everything was overthrown. And then, another figure appeared, confirming his guess again. Alice, the saint of nature, dressed in a noble sacrificial dress appeared among the elves. She closed her eyes and prayed, and the bright holy light spread around her, forming a continuously rotating ball of light, with a strong breath of nature and life. Under Alice's instructions, the ball of light wandered rapidly among the elves, and every elves touched by it began to recover quickly from injuries. Open black lens bracket healing soul close black lens bracket. The 4-ring healing magic spell is the most powerful mass healing spell of the lower priest of silver. Seeing the recovery from their injuries, the elves became even more excited. Miss Alice's support is coming. Come on. Kill the orcs. They brandished their weapons and attacked more frantically and desperately. Silver Priest. Silver Priest who believes in nature. Kuroishi's pupils shrank slightly again. Silver-level priests and priests can only be supported by the faith of the true God. At this moment, the answer is no more suspense. What the asterisk of death, all shit. Mingming, is the favored one of nature. The world tree, really recovered. For an instant, Blackstone felt his whole body trembling, and his heart was extremely frightened. Defeating the ancient Uktrahir has always been an epic legend passed down from generation to generation by half-orcs, and it is also the greatest pride of the of winter and hunting. And at this moment, the legendary true god, the master of the plane of the last era has actually recovered. Reminiscing about the recent disappearance of the orcs, Blackstone was startled in a cold sweat. He is revenge. He is back, he wants to avenge us. He wants to avenge God the Father. The majesty of the true cannot be profaned. As a half-orc who has been persecuting the elves for thousands of years, trying to completely wipe out the belief in the world tree, I am afraid that he has become the thorn in the eyes of this ancient god. You must pass this news back to the horde. The half-orcs are dangerous. In an instant, Blackstone made a decision. Saw him gritted his teeth and said bitterly. Send 2 mid-level professionals in one breath, do you think I really can't fight back? His caution, but never just for fun. Suddenly, the aura on Blackstone began to rise, a trace of coercion continued to release. In an instant, his strength has been directly promoted from the black iron sub-level peak, level 40, to the silver sub-level. Level 45. This is the true strength of Blackstone. Before, he was also hiding his level. It turned out to be silver too. For a while, www.mtlnovel.com, Basaka and Alice both looked surprised. Then, Heisha took out a bone fragment carved with mysterious lines from his arms. His expression became holy and pious in an instant. I saw him holding up the bone fragment, muttering something silently, a faint divine power fluctuation spread. Not good. Eve's heart sank in the player's perspective. Before he could do anything, the bone fragments in Blackstone's hand burst into dazzling brilliance, forming a huge energy arrow in the air. Open black lens bracket hunting arrow close black lens bracket. The 8-ring attack magic technique mastered by the priests of Ullr is a true high-level magic technique. A powerful breath was released from the arrow, and the faces of Barthaka and Alice changed drastically at the same time. Hurry up and hide everyone. However, it was too late. I saw the energy arrow suddenly burst into silver brilliance, and then swish to replicate itself. In a blink of an eye, an energy circle formed by arrows pointing outwards was formed. After, arrows flew away one by one. The largest one was aimed at the silver-centered, level 51, oak guard Basaka. Basaka looked solemn and roared again. Oak tree barrier. After was finished, a barrier of oak branches appeared in front of him. And Alice also took a bite and gave a soft drink. Natural armor. A green energy shield appeared on everyone. The arrow arrived in an instant, hit the barrier and shield, and exploded violently. Boom. The ground shakes the mountain. For a while, everyone's eyes were blank. Chapter 77. I would like to dedicate my life and soul. When Blackrock raised the bone fragment, Eve knew what her previous anxiety was. High-level magic arts. There is a high-level magic in Blackstone's hands. Open black lens bracket hunting arrow close black lens bracket. This is an 8-ring magic unique to the high priests who believe in Ural. The magical effect is to produce a powerful energy arrow with the must-hit characteristic, and derive numerous accompanying energy arrows to strike the target with precision and conduct range attacks on nearby areas. This is a real golden mid-level attack. Even if it is the current incarnation of Eve, he can't deal with this level of attack if he is caught off guard. If unfortunately, he would destroy the soul storage orb that has not been completely repaired, causing the avatar to collapse. Not to mention the oak tree guard Basaka who only has a silver median. The energy arrow exploded, and the dazzling light and loud noise drowned everything. A strong energy storm raged away, blowing the surrounding trees off directly, causing a mess. All the players are blind and deaf in an instant. When the light gradually disappeared and everything returned to calm, the battlefield in front of me had completely changed. The place where Basaka was originally standing has turned into a huge pit with a radius of more than 10 meters. The mud is turned out and white smoke is still swelling. As for Basaka, half of his body was destroyed and he fell to the ground dying. The vitality of the oak tree guard is indeed tenacious. Even the magic of the 8 rings did not kill him, but he has completely lost his combat effectiveness. Of course, this is also because Blackstone only has the strength of a silver subordinate, and at the same time, he is not a spellcaster, and he can't master divine magic well. If a priest of the lower rank of silver is used to perform, I am afraid that with this blow, the player will be completely destroyed. But even so, the situation on the court is extremely miserable. Alice also fell to the ground, a big hole was shot through her chest and abdomen by an energy arrow, and the red blood kept flowing. And the players, more than half of them evaporate directly under the attack of the energy arrow, and even the corpse can't be seen. Although the remaining half did not die by chance, they were lying on the ground, seriously injured, and lost their combat effectiveness. Only Al and the 2 elves sisters were blocked by the violent Demacia and escaped by luck. One blow, just one blow. Although there is no Tuan Mie, it is almost the same as Tuan Mie. There were less than 30 players alive, and all of them lost their combat effectiveness. And there are only 2 silver combat powers, they are also dying in an instant. On the entire battlefield, only Blackstone and a dozen orcs who are still capable of fighting are left. It is far from the safety zone, 50 kilometers. Even if the players are resurrected, there is no way to come over in time. Not to mention, in the face of Blackstone, which shows the strength of silver, the players who have lost high-end combat power no longer have any whole cards. All the surviving elves, while struggling, looked palely at the orcs on the field. They looked at a loss, as if they had not recovered from the explosion just now. Why did it reverse in an instant? Clearly to win. Why did the car overturn somehow? Dog planning, your mother, exploded. Looking at the miserable scene in front of him, Demacia cursed while vomiting blood. Brother Demacia. Al worriedly lifted the blue-faced Demacia up, looking at the terrifying wounds on his body with a look of helplessness. The most painful thing in this world is that when hope reaches its peak, it turns into despair in an instant. When he first saw the Oak Guardian, Al also recognized the legendary existence. The stubborn and fanatical people around him, as well as the noble silver priests, also made him very excited. Is it true that the mother goddess that Grandpa said has really returned? Al was extremely excited, feeling that something seemed to be brewing in his chest. It's just that, before he continues to be excited, the sudden changes on the court knocked his mood to the bottom. The orcs are so evil and powerful. Under the attack of divine art, my own people and natural favored ones will be so vulnerable. For a while, Al was lost. Grandpa, do we really have hope? Holding Demacia, who was coughing up blood, Al's eyes were blank. He bit his lip and clenched his fists. Blackstone was also stunned by the magical effect of the bone fragments in his hand. 8 rings, turned out to be 8 rings. He murmured a few words, his expression was very wonderful. Originally, he was only planning to sneak away with the effect of the magic arts, but he didn't want to have such a result. Watching the miserable state of the surrounding elves, watching the dying oak guards and the unconscious nature priests, the corners of Haitia's mouth rose slightly. He, ha ha ha. He couldn't help laughing. It seems, the favored one of nature is not as strong as in the legend. His heart gradually settled down. Also, even if the world tree has recovered, it is probably only recently. The world tree that has just been revived must be extremely weak, otherwise, how could it keep the elves secretly playing tricks? The weak world tree, the strength of the favored person is naturally limited. Ha ha. It seems that this time I really want to get a great achievement. The world tree is resurrected, the protective magic that he applied to the body when he fell 1,000 years ago must have been broken. For the Father God, this is also a further opportunity. Thinking of this, Blackstone's eyes flashed and his expression gradually became frenzied. This time, I am destined to get the favor of God the Father. Took a deep breath, and he commanded to his men who were also in shock. Take those 3 little guys, let's go. Now that he has figured out the secret of the fairy forest, naturally there is no need to take the prisoners back. Besides, Blackstone also doubted that the elves could locate their companions. Otherwise, how could he be exposed again and again? Just 3 young elves, he will definitely not let go. This is the best product. Hearing Haitia's command, the orcs looked at each other and nodded excitedly. They came to Al, www.mtlnovel.com, and roughly pulled him up and carried him and his 2 sisters on their shoulders. Let go of me. You evil bastards. Let go of me. Al yelled, struggling. But he could not break free. He raised his head and looked in the direction of the world tree, looking sad and angry. Mother God, do you really exist? If you really exist, why should you watch your beloved fight to death? If you really exist, why can't you protect your believers? Here, but your territory. He shouted, cried and laughed. Watching the plight of the surrounding elves, watching the unconscious nature priest and the dying oak guard. Gradually, his expression became sad. Mother God Lord. If you can hear me, please save your servant. After talking, Al raised his head, his expression solemnly determined. I, Al Moonlight, I am willing to swear by my soul that I will dedicate my entire life and soul to you and become your most loyal servant. I only wish you can protect us, only wish you can save us. Said, he stretched out his hand struggling, learning the movements of his grandfather in his memory, and slowly drew a tree-shaped symbol on his chest. Mother Goddess, please, do a miracle. The immature voice is so loud in the silent forest, it spread far, far away. Looking at Al, who was struggling, Blackstone sneered. But before he could say anything, an ethereal and quiet sigh suddenly sounded in everyone's hearts. Ah! Along with the sigh, Al's body suddenly burst into bright light. Chapter 78. God. A dazzling light bloomed from Al's body, and the orc carrying him suddenly let out a scream, and the whole body began to age rapidly, turning into fly ash in an instant. At the same time, with the ethereal hymn, countless bright green photons flew from the ground. They rise slowly, like elemental elves dancing, densely packed, countless, endless. For a time, the forest seemed to be immersed in a green ocean. The green photons circled the players on the field, continuously spinning and circling, and then scrambling to get into their bodies. Under the surprised eyes of the players, their injuries began to recover quickly, and even the broken limbs gradually grew back. The seriously injured oak tree guard Basaka gradually came to life under the photon's embrace, and re-twitched branches from the vigorous branches, and soon the other half of the body was completely annihilated. The plants on the ground began to grow rapidly with the appearance of photons, budding and spreading leaves, and then blooming flowers. In a blink of an eye, an avenue paved with colorful flowers appeared on the ground, and all places were covered by greenery and sea of flowers. And countless butterflies composed of photons began to revolve around Al, pouring into his body under his somewhat confused eyes. The aura on El's body began to grow rapidly, and in a blink of an eye it crossed the level of black iron and broke through to silver. Everything is like a miracle. Demarsha's eyes widened, and she looked at the elf Xiao Jungtai who was all over the body incredibly, and rubbed her eyes severely. Fuck. Is Masada the NPC that triggered the plot? Then, he glanced at his character column that was completely restored to his health, and subconsciously pinched his thigh. Does not hurt. But he quickly reacted, and while turning up the pain, he pinched it again, and breathed a breath of excitement. Not a dream. It's a story animation. Seeing this sudden change, the orcs were stunned. An unprecedented sense of crisis hit Haitia's heart. He subconsciously wanted to shout and order everyone to escape, but then he was shocked to find that he had lost control of his body. At this time, the half-orcs discovered that countless photons were attached to their bodies and controlled their actions. Immediately afterwards, a sacred and mighty breath suddenly came to the scene. Under the shocking eyes of everyone, the flying photons continued to rotate on the ground, finally forming a human form. That is an existence whose whole body is shrouded in the holy light. She is wearing a sacred and noble long dress, wearing a supreme divine crown, long silver hair reaching her waist, and her magnificent and mysterious purple eyes gleaming with bright light. An inviolable sense of majesty struck everyone's hearts. The players just glanced at them and lowered their heads involuntarily, and there was an impulse to worship from the heart. Although it was only a glance, the extraordinary figure, as if it had been engraved in their minds, could no longer be removed. Basaka looked at the noble figure in the holy light, and his expression became extremely enthusiastic in an instant. He stood up on the ground, and then bowed down respectfully. His voice from the vicissitudes of life was extremely solemn. Praise, my lord. Alice also fell into enthusiasm, she also knelt down, and her clear voice was pious and solemn. Praise, my lord. A dozen half-orcs looked horrified. In their eyes, they only saw a glare of holy light, and they could not see clearly. For an instant, they felt tingling in their eyes and soul at the same time. Accompanied by a scream, their eyes shed blood and tears. Don't look at God directly. In other words, without the permission of the true God, no one can look directly at the true God. For a while, everyone understood. Eve Uktrahir, the mother of nature, the goddess of life, and the master of the elves, has personally descended into the incarnation. The goddess first glanced at her two loved ones, a smile appeared at the corner of her mouth, and then slowly walked towards Al. Every time she took a step, a bunch of flowers bloomed on the ground, as if praising the miracle of life. The wildly growing plants bent over slightly with her movements, as if paying homage to the Supreme Being. Al stared blankly at the sacred figure gradually approaching him, his brain blank. The goddess came to him, stretched out her arm, and gently stroked his forehead. Remember your vows. Her voice is sacred and majestic, with a touch of sweetness and kindness. And with her caressing, Al's forehead bloomed with a holy brilliance, and a tree symbol symbolizing the mother of nature appeared, and then gradually disappeared. Also, the aura on El's body has changed again. Although he did not continue to increase his strength, it seems to be slightly different. There seems to be a sacred smell on his body. That seems to be a sublimation of life level. Following the movement of the goddess, countless photons began to revolve around the two of them, and faintly sacred hymns came. God's favor. It's a God's favor. Seeing everything on the court, Basaka looked enthusiastic. After hearing what Basaka said, the players also recovered from the shock. Yu reading www.uakanshu.com. They raised their heads, and when they saw the figure like a knightly gift and the light effect of the dazzling Holy Spirit, they were all stunned. This is the third time the players have seen the figure of the goddess after the character was created and the first plot task was issued. But different from the previous two times, this time the goddess incarnation seems to be more real, more majestic and sacred, and the gorgeous special effects that come are more shocking than before. There is no rhetoric that can describe the current mood of the players. If so, there are only two words: fuck. Al. At this time, the goddess spoke again. Her gaze turned to the remaining half-orcs on the field, and her voice was extremely majestic. They are yours. Hearing what the goddess said, Al turned his head blankly and looked at the orcs who were struggling and covering their eyes and crying. For a time, his expression was a little complicated. Grandpa once told him to respect life and treat others graciously. Grandpa once told him that all creatures make mistakes, but as long as they know their mistakes and correct them, they deserve to be forgiven. But at this moment, Al hesitated. For an instant, the picture of the tribe being slaughtered once again appeared in his mind. The smirk of the orcs, the wailing of the tribe, the despair of the broken family. Why is it that the elves can't defeat the enemy even though they have great strength? Why did the silver race, which is obviously glorious, become the target of the black iron race? Ai's expression changed several times, and finally gradually became firm. The kindness to the enemy is the cruelty to oneself. Took a deep breath and picked up a machete on the ground. Chapter 79, Soul of the Elves. The half-orcs opened their eyes with difficulty. They looked at Al, who was pale, biting his lips and holding a scimitar step by step, with a look of horror. At this time, they found that they had regained their ability to speak. I saw the orc closest to Al hurriedly shouted. Don't come over, don't come over. We know it's wrong. Let's leave the fairy forest. Al's expression flashed another hesitation. It's just that when he thinks of all the hardships that the race has gone through, his expression finally turns into coldness. Too many times. After finishing speaking, he stood on tiptoe, swung his machete, and pierced the orc's chest. It's late. The moment the scimitar pierced his chest, the orcs let out a painful wailing, and then the whole body began to twitch and age rapidly, and soon turned to ashes. War sacrifice. While the goddess bestows Al's mark of nature, this skill that belongs to the druid has also become his passive ability. Seeing the end of their companions, the remaining half-orcs changed their faces. Blackstone looked at the young elf in front of him incredulously, and a huge wave surged in his heart. It has changed, they have changed. After killing the first half-orc, Al looked at his blood-stained hands, and his expression became more determined. If only war and blood can save the race, then start with me. After speaking, he turned around and walked to the next orc. The red blood splashed on his pale face, reflecting his broken silver hair and dark blue pupils, making the elf boy look extraordinarily firm and firm. I am going, so handsome. It's like two people. Looking at Al's back, Demasia's mouth opened wide in surprise. This cold and handsome Xiaojung is too afraid to a wave of female fans. If I remember correctly, there are still a lot of Jungtaekong on the forum. He glanced at a few surviving female players and found that many of them had bright eyes, almost putting the stars in their eyes. Demarsha. This era of looking at faces. He looked up at the sky 45 degrees and shook his head sadly. But very quickly, Demacia reacted, looking at Al with a trace of distress. Fuck. These are all experience points and contributions. Al, leave some for me. He quickly got up, ready to join the opponent with a scimitar, but was surprised to find that his body could not move. Demarsha. Damn plot animation. He cursed and sat down on the ground again. Other players also noticed this. They were also unable to move, and had to witness Al kill one by one a half-orc who was unable to resist. Eve stood behind Al, watching his actions silently. The elves are so naive. For the future of the race, the elves must make some changes. In the world of Segs, the confrontation between races of different faiths is cruel, and it cannot tolerate any mercy. If the elves want to rise again amidst difficulties, only Eve's support is absolutely not enough. They must also experience the test of blood and tears to create a new race soul. The appearance of players is an opportunity, and the appearance of Al is also an opportunity. Eve hopes to gather a new racial concept for the elves from Al. Peace does not mean weakness, but kindness does not mean withdrawal. In the face of fierce enemies, you must show your sword and fangs. Seeing Al gradually walking towards him, Blackstone's pupils shrank suddenly. His expression changed slightly, and then he threatened harshly. You can imagine that I have a token of the true on my body. Not only that, but I also served as the guardian of the Holy Land. If I kill me, I will definitely attract the attention of God the Father. Hearing what he said, Al was silent. Seeing the silence of the other party, Blackstone breathed a sigh of relief, and then continued. I can swear by my soul. If I let me go, I will never tell the secrets here. I will never be an enemy of the elves again, let alone, and the true God. In the second half of the sentence, he faced Eve's direction, and at the same time lowered his head slightly, respectfully and obediently. Although he didn't dare to straighten up and look at this supreme being, there was a trace of pleading in his words. Eve did not speak. And Al did not speak either. He looked back at the goddess, and the goddess smiled at him slightly. That smile is like spring, which instantly warms Al's heart, as if to say, "Don't worry about threats, it's up to you." After speaking, Eve looked at Blackstone indifferently. A token that can arouse the attention of the true god, a silver-powered orc warrior can't bring it out. If all the incarnations of the true have come, and the enemy is not swept away, then she, the true god, would be too majestic. Eve's perception is still very keen. In her premonition, although killing the black stone seems to cause some twists and turns, it does not bring any danger. As her strength gradually recovered, her hunch became more and more accurate, especially when she targeted secular creatures. After receiving the comforting gaze of the mother god, El's expression gradually became firm. He drew out the scimitar and pierced his chest under Blackrock's horrified gaze. Sorry, you no longer have this chance. www.mtlnovel.com. With the tragic wailing, Blackstone's body began to grow old rapidly, and he struggled to look in Eve's direction, and his eyes widened with all his strength. With blood and tears, he shouted, "Father God, we'll never let you go." Absolutely, absolutely. Humph. Eve let out a soft snort. And Blackstone's body stiffened for an instant with a light hum. Then, his body collapsed like broken glass, and turned into ashes. All the orcs were wiped out. Eve beckoned slightly, and a piece of bone flew from the ground and fell into her hand. In the forest, it was quiet. All the players focused on the most dazzling and sacred figure. They held their breath, shocked in their hearts. Eve looked around the audience again, and smiled at all the players. Every player who looked at her at each other couldn't help but give birth to a trace of closeness and awe under this dreamy smile, and then involuntarily lowered his head again. And Eve turned his body, turned into a bright light, and slowly disappeared. Open black lens bracket ding, close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket task. Orcs hunting team completed close black lens bracket. All players participating in the task will settle the rewards based on the task contribution, and get corresponding experience points, contribution points, and perfect resurrection times. Open black lens bracket ding, close black lens bracket. All players participating in the mission, get the blessing of the goddess, the chosen one. Open black lens bracket the chosen one. In the next 7 game days, your experience gain will increase by 50%. Close black lens bracket. The players were quiet for a while, and then they uttered a wave of cheers. Chapter 80. 100 Supernatural Power Points. Eve controlled the avatar and quickly left the player's battlefield under the cover of the holy light. And after leaving the battlefield, she breathed a sigh of relief. This time she showed her face, it was she after careful consideration. When she gave the order to hunt down the orcs, she had a foreboding that there would be some twists and turns. At that time, she planned to use her avatar to suppress the bottom, but she didn't expect to actually use it. But at the very beginning, she planned to wait for the player's mission to fail, and after she knew the whole cards of the half-orcs, she pretended to be the favored one of Hela to copy the bottom of the half-orcs. Well, this is definitely not for the mere experience and contribution of the black players, but for the mystery and security of oneself. But after hearing Al's oath, her plan changed. She thinks this may be an opportunity to change the concept of the indigenous elves of the Seg's world. Al's full name is Al Moonlight. The surname Moonlight is very old in the Elven race, and it is a branch of the Elven King family. After the Elven kingdom declined and the Elven royal family was completely extinct, the Moonlight tribe became the most appealing tribe among the elves. If Eve can gather Al, it will be easier for Eve to set up a banner among the native elves, and get them out of the kind of stupid and merciful resignation sooner. In addition, if it is done well, it can gain a wave of popularity among players. Don't underestimate this wave of popularity. As a veteran of online games, Eve knows nothing more about player creatures. They have a special feeling for the existence of the leader of the faction, especially when the leader of the faction is cool. No matter how handsome and beautiful, it is best to have some moving background stories, and it can also bring benefits to the players. Okay, this group of players will definitely be devastated while playing the game. Although she is the only faction leader in Elf country, if it can increase the player's popularity, it will also make the player work harder. Story background, Eve is not lacking. Tasks are mostly sent by her. As for the appearance, it is not Eve blowing. So far, she really hasn't found any existence beyond her incarnation. At this time, as long as you have a proper sense of presence. Ah, how come you have the illusion of being an idol? Eve shook his head. So, at the end of thinking, she decided to end herself. As for the dignity of the true God, she is so weak that she is dying, why does she need dignity? Besides, she is not a true native god, but Lanxing sneaked over and became a monk. As long as it is good for herself, she can do everything except for some things that involve the bottom line. Besides, there are too many shameless gods in the Segu's continent. It is said that there are also those who secretly pretend to be mortals to experience the world. The half-human and half-god heirs have given birth to several football teams. Of course, even if it comes to the scene, the true god's compulsion cannot be lost. With Eve's current incarnation, the strength that can be compared to the lower level of gold, if you want to be cool in front of players, you still have to pay a certain price. Especially since it is too far away from her body, it doesn't belong to her control area. And this time, there are flowers, green leaves, and the special effects of dazzling light and ethereal chants. It was she made it out of supernatural power. In order to achieve the best results, her avatar almost tried her best. Although at the level of an avatar, that is, some special effects that can be broken with a single poke, it is almost enough to flick everyone. In addition, the reason why Eve gave the makeup to Al is also because her avatar maintains the special effects and target control of the audience is already at the limit. If you go to make up the knife again, it will be exposed if one is not good. Fortunately, with the fit with the world tree, Eve's control of the divine power has become stronger and stronger, and the use of the divine power is not as inefficient as it was at the beginning. Healing all the people in the audience only cost her 1 point of divine power, which is much more efficient than the 1 point of divine power needed to heal 2 believers at the beginning. The reason why the treatment costs so much, one is because of the long distance, and the other is because the treatment is different from the birth of the body from the world tree. The birth of the body from the world tree relies on the instinct of the world tree and consumes much less divine power, but the treatment is all based on divine power. As for other flash effects and various control effects, even 1 point of supernatural power is not used. And the result seems to be very good. The orcs were stunned, and the players were also shocked. If the player's favorability can also be realized, Eve believes that it must be soaring. Not only that, she also received a new fanatic. A godly person who voluntarily devotes his body and mind to himself. El's oath also meant that he gave everything he had to the gods and became an existence similar to the Oak Guardian. Such an opportunity is very rare, not to mention that few people are willing to completely devote their body and mind to the true God. Even if they are willing, very few people have this qualification to become the favored one. Just right, Al, who has a trace of royal blood, can do it. Not only that, the time is still short, and Al has not yet accepted the belief in nature well. Eve believes that as he grows, his faith will continue to grow, and sooner or later he will become a saint like Alice. With Al, Alice and Barthaka's NPC work can also be shared. Eve is very satisfied. Remove the avatar, and Eve's consciousness returned to the body. At this time, he began to check his own gains. Not surprisingly, www.mtlnovel.com, this time he once again gained a wave of supernatural power. Among them, the supernatural power brought by the elimination of the orcs is 8 points in total, most of which originate from the resentment of the souls of the elves. And Al, who became the favored and fanatic, provided 1.5 points. The half-orc is only 8 o'clock. It's a bit unexpected. Because this time the number of half-orcs was much more than when Barthaka took the first shot, including a silver subordinate, but the divine power value was only 3 points more than that time. But, Eve soon figured it out. The grievances of the elf souls are also limited. At the beginning, the feedback is definitely the most obvious, but as I become stronger, the grievances accumulated over the past 1,000 years have become less and less, and the role of feedback on me has also become weaker. Quote. However, Eve did not expect to rely on the dead soul to strengthen himself. As long as he can get out of the dying state, it is enough. He took a look at his divine power. Remove the consumption, plus the bits and pieces obtained during this time, there are now 94 points in total. Is still 6 points from getting out of dying state. At this time, Eve took out the bone fragments he had obtained from Blackstone. Is different from the one-time effect world leaf that he gave to Samir, this bone piece can be reused. This also means that there are more divine powers stored in it. Eve roughly felt it. There are 10 points. He was surprised. After joy, Eve decisively chose to swallow. 10 points of divine power was immediately extracted by him, and after a rough transformation, it shrank into less than 7 points of natural divine power. And Eve's supernatural power finally broke through the 100 mark. Thank you for watching. Continue exploring the fascinating world of Chinese novels with us. Hit that subscribe button on Chinese Novel Audiobook to stay updated with our latest stories, and never miss out on a great listen.